So we're live. Sorry, here, 4 minutes late. So I'm not sure how many users are waiting right now, but everybody should be able to join. So what we're going to do today is we're going to add a test. So that is going to be our goal of today. So let me show you what we're going to do. And it's a little bit a continuation of what we did before, but more on the adding tests. So it's kind of a generic best practices that I use when I add tests. So this is what we're doing. And by the way, for the ones that want to join the meeting live on Team, I'm going to, can I copy? Copying the link is not that easy somehow. Live coding, where is copy link? Okay, here. Yeah, this one. So I'm going to put on the chat here over there, the one that you can MS Team for live audio, video. And so you can join and then you can ask questions if you want. So, okay, so today what we're going to do is we're going to add the test to the MCP test. And in fact, I'm going to show how I do it. So I needed to do it anyway. So this kind of live streams, I'm experimenting with that. I did a few months ago and I'm back at it. I actually enjoy it and I hope to share the experience. And so that is how I add test. And it's a little bit my my best practices and what I test and what I don't and what I would like to test. Because I never do enough tests. But I also think that testing is not about a percentage of code base tested. It's more about testing the things that matters, much more than a percentage of what has been written. So that is the way I see testing. So for that, we are going to go back to our crate. So I'm going to add tests to a real code base. So rather to do that in an abstract, I'm going to show a real code base. So I'm not sure how many kind of been followed the MCP, but this is basically a crate, which is a real crate, which is the Agentic crate, which crate.io and Agentic. And so that is that crate there, this one. And we added quite a bit in the previous live, and you can check them. I'm going to leave them for a little while. And basically where I did the HTTP transport to MCP. So the way that the MCP works is if you go there in the example. So when I start implementing my first crate, so in this case, it's a lib, okay? And the goal of this library is to be able to talk to MCP servers, but to also be able to eventually be an MCP, be a library that help people building MCP servers. Yeah? So the goal here is not an MCP server per se, but be a library that make that simpler. So the thing here is typically the way that I've done it, which has been working very nicely, is I'm starting with the examples. And the examples, in a way, is the human test, the ergonomic test. Because when I write my examples, I want the user of my library to be able to come and say, oh, okay, that makes sense, and kind of understanding very clearly just by the name of the type and everything. So that is kind of a little bit my goal of doing the examples. So I'm doing some testing, because it has to work, as well as I'm doing the human ergonomic testing of the API. And that is very subjective in many ways. So right now, I really like the way it shapes up. And I have these two guys, which is std.io, and then this one that require a server. So now I have two choices. If you look at the spec MCP, and so it's good if you understand MCP. If you don't, you're going to do some It's going to be a useful one as well because I will talk a little bit about the MCP as well. So the thing here is if I go to the MCP, so this is the MCP server, and basically an MCP is a JSON RPC, so you send JSON in, gives you JSON back. And it's an RPC call. So for the one, don't want to repeat too much, but just in case I have a quick press over there, which is this one. And so you send that JSON, okay? And then the server will send you back that JSON. The great news compared to REST and many of other things is that this is dead simple first, so it works over HTTP, obviously, but it's also transport agnostic, okay? So we can have HTTP over the web, and usually it's an HTTP post. You have an endpoint, RPC or whatever, in this case it's MCP, and then you can communicate like that. Or you can have stdio. This is what we are all using if you code Rust. You are using probably JSON RPC more than REST during your day because all the Rust VS Code to the Rust analyzer go via JSON RPC. And again, it's a very good way of doing cross-language kind of things without having the complexity of protobuf and all of that. And so an MCP server has this kind of things, which is tools, and then there's samples, and there's prompt, and all these kind of things, capabilities that are pretty well implemented, I think, now in the Agentic Crate. So even if now I'm saying is 0.03, we're going to be close to the 0.1, which will be the client side, and then I will work on the 0.2 to build the server-side capabilities. Now, we can already test quite a bit, and if I go look at my code, if I do a talkie here, I have 4,000 lines of codes. So starting to be, not too small, not too big. And then I have all the types. And it maps all the type of MCP. Might be something missing, but I think it's 90%. The reason why is I have my AI friends helping me making sure that I didn't miss anything. So I macro manage it, but I use AI as well to make sure that it was complete. And then I have this example. So everything is working pretty nicely. That is a TypeScript spec. And that is the implementation. And things are pretty nice. So two things here that we have to decide when we're implementing testing. And that's a big debate regardless of the language you have, is do you want your test to only be within yourself, which you don't have any external dependencies, which is all in memory in a way, and you start mocking everything because you have to mock to make sure that it doesn't go out and doesn't call anything else. So you rely only on file system, I guess, and memory. Or in some cases, you say, well, okay, I'm going to do my test and I'm okay to have external dependencies. Often people, what they are saying is they're saying when it's integration testing, it's okay to have other dependencies because that's the point of integration testing. And then you have the unit testing. And often unit testing has been associated with something in memory only, and you shouldn't talk to anything outside. I differ a little bit on the unit testing side because otherwise you spend your time, in some scenarios, you might spend your time on testing your mock logic rather than the things that may break, even in the unit test. So for example, if you have a model layer, even in my unit test, I have Postgres behind. It's super easy to install. It's no big deal to have it on any machine you run your test. And the value, the net value of being able to test the model layer to the database, even if it's not integration testing, is huge. Because that is where it breaks. It's not on the type because the compiler take care of most of it. So bottom line is, on this one, there's going to be some integration testing that I'm going to do, but in fact, some unit testing, which is going to be inside. So your unit testing, usually you put it inside your code there. I don't think I have anything. Sometimes create by itself, but oh yeah, I have some, okay. But they are like really basic kind of things. And they are integration testing. This one doesn't have any dependencies. And honestly, I need to do more of those. But what we're going to do today is going to be the integration testing, because that is where the things may break. So my goal is, if you have infinite resource, yes, go for 80% of the code. No big deal. Everybody will be happy, will feel smart in Thanksgiving and so on. Now, if you don't have unlimited resources, focus on what may break first. What may break in this domain of things is a communication with the MCP server that I miss. I don't store the session IDs. I change the session ID name, all these kind of things. So there's two main protocols. One, which is, again, if we go to the spec, so that is all the tools that we are going to use. And there's two protocols that we need to set to, that is supported today, which is the STDIO protocol, this guy. And then we have this guy, which is a streamable. This one has been deprecated, but this one is the HTTP, basically. Yeah, and it's streamable HTTP. So that is the two kind of modes that we are going to test today. So because my crate is going to be, we're going to have the client, so that is where I prefix it, C01, C02, so like this we can see the level of complexity, and all of that works. So if I do that and do a cargo watch execute, so this is cargo watch -x run -- examples and so on. So I have a little alias for that, and then I'm going to say client C01 simple. And so that will work nicely. And then in my example here, I just print the slab. So that is a very low-hanging fruit, cheap, hacky test. You see that it works. It works exactly as expected. So we're going to have to do that. We're going to do that now. And for that, it's fine for my integration testing as not a policy. I don't want to be too serious here, but as a best practice, I'm going to say, hey, it's not as a best practice, as a convention for this crate. I'm going to say, if I want to do the test, we are going to have to install this MCP server, which is, if you go with the official one, so they have the servers there where they have many servers. So when you go to the spec, you go to model controllers, and then they have these cool servers, which is the one they maintain, which is good. Before the list was too long, and it's try to do too much, even if you're $1 billion, it doesn't work. So they kind of slim it down, which is smart. And then this one is really the one to test things. It's been built for that. And my guess is everybody on the planet that does MCP kind of test with that. And then there might be other kind of corner cases. So this one is made for test. And you make sure that you don't have side effect. Yeah, you don't want to start testing with file system stuff. So we're going to use that. And so those guys are made, if you click on it, they are in the TypeScript realm. So it's not Python, and they are Node.js TypeScript, which I'm happy with. And it's very simple. Yeah, once you have your TypeScript library, it's very simple to do a server. And so my goal of Agentic is to make sure that it's very simple to do a server as well with Rust. But that means that this code base is very simple, and it supports both the stdio and the streamable HTTP. Okay, so right now we're going to test that guy. And so that would be our assumption. So because it's integration testing, we're going to create a folder, which is test. If you have any question, feel free to ask question. Sometime if you say hi as well, I know that everything is working right now. I'm not sure. And then you can also join on the MS team. So the thing I'm going to add here is I'm going to add a test like this. So I do a test with an S. And typically I do underscore, I think. I use underscore. I don't remember why. Usually I like to use dash for file name, but for test, sometimes I use underscore. Why do I use underscore? Yeah, I could use dash as well. We're going to use dash. So C, which is going to be the client, So that is going to be my conversion, which is fine because they're all going to order like that. STDIO, so that will be the STDIO. And then we're going to have the tools. Okay. So that is a way that I'm going to organize my test. And it depends a lot of what you're implementing. Here I'm doing that way because my thing will have client and we'll have servers and we'll have SDIO and we'll have HTTP. So like this is very nice to be able to like go to the right files for the right thing. Usually they will break within this zone. So you want to find your dimension that goes well. When I implement my GenAI crate, this guy, it's a different business, yeah? So GenAI is a crate. It's there as well, you know, so you go there, and it's a GenAI. So that's mine as well. And this one is production. I mean, this one I'm using it, things. And my definition of production is if it breaks, you put a lot of people in a mess. Yeah? Something that is not production, if it breaks, nobody really cares. And, you know, it was not in the critical path of anything anyway. So GenAI is starting, I mean, at least for me, is starting to be in the critical path. So I treat that as a production coding. Agentic, I treat it as a production coding quality because I want to get there, but now it's not 0.1 yet. But in my GenAI, I decided that the most important dimension is this one, which is a provider. And that is the Anthropic, the Cohere, the DeepSeek, and everything. And I split the reasoning away a little bit. And then in my support, I have this common test that everybody can reuse. So that was a design that I've done there that works extremely well because when things break, they usually break for one of these adapters. Okay? So there's not one size fits all. Is you want to find the dimension that makes sense for you. Okay? So now that we have that, the way that I like to do the testing is the first thing, and I have a video on that. But it's, I don't remember the, so that is my Rust NX extension with things, and I think is result box din, something like that. Okay, so I'm going to say type result. Cool. Okay, so that means that now I'm going to map, I'm going to map all of the result type into this guy. Why does it complain? Oh, yeah, okay, I'm sorry. I think I have type. Okay, that's one. So you want to do this one, otherwise it's cyclic stuff. So you do result and then that. And so that now, when I do the test, I do always like this, pub test. And now this will be probably async. So we're going to do Tokyo test. And that will be the Tokyo test. So now, here's the thing. This is my best practices. I'm just sharing them. We're going to do a, it doesn't have to be pub, async fn. And I always prefix it with test underscore. And then I'm going to repeat, and this is where it's getting a little, it may look a little bit silly, but I'm going to repeat C, stdio, tools, and then I'm going to do the echo, okay, which is the one that, the first one we're going to do. And I'm going to explain why I'm doing that. The reason why I'm redundant here, and even when I do test, unit test, I tend to, sometimes I don't repeat the whole tree, but I want every function to be globally unique and to more or less follow the things. Because then I have a cargo, when you do a cargo test, you can very simply like test all of these things, and that will test all of the client stdio. This is heaven. And if I want to test all the clients stdio, I do this, tools. And then if I want to test one, and then, if I want. So obviously you have to choose one dimension. You cannot use, multi-dimension because it's one name. But that allows you extremely simply to select either one or categories of things. So you select the dimension you want, and then you use that. And so I use that a lot in my case. And now one thing that I have in my best practices is I like to have this section, which is test and check, fixture, and setup. And then I'm going to do here, I'm going to do another one, which is going to be my exec. So that is why exec. And that is what I'm using the check. So that I like to have this notation. And then at the end, I do an OK like that. Okay, so that is the way I like it, because then I see very well what is what. So this is the thing. So now, what we are going to do, and again, this session is a little bit things that I needed to do anyway, and so I'm sharing it with everybody in case it's interesting. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, okay, I want to test this one, the simple. So I don't need the trace because I don't want to be distracted with that. I want to create that. That's true. I want to create this guy. That is what I want to do as well. I want to connect. Yeah? So in fact, there will be an argument to say connect test, I guess. And then, because in the connect, I think I'll return something now. Yeah, the initialize result. So I can do a test of connect. So in fact, I will do something like that. I will copy that, and I will do a life cycle. This is what I would do if I were alone. And then I will say life cycle. Connect. Okay, so now I have my kind of structure now. Go back to this one. I want this one. And I'm going to have the list tools. So I go back there. And actually, before doing the stuff, I'm going to say list. Okay, so this is the first one we're going to do. And now I'm going back there, and I'm going to look at so here we are writing the test for rare crate for the people that comes. You can join again on the chat over there. On this one, on the MS Team, if you want to be real-time audio and video. And so what we're doing the test right now of this crate. So what we have is, we know that we're going to do that. So I'm going to tell you what goes through my head. This is a little bit like what I do in these lives now. So my thing is, I don't want to repeat all of this boilerplate in all of my tests, because, well, then it's redundancy, and also it's not normalized, and everything is a mess. So I know that I'm going to have one thing like that, which will be support mod.rs. Okay, I know I'm going to have this guy, and I put underscore because it's a specific one. And in fact, if I were going to put underscore, I need to update also my Git business here over there. I'm going to explain you why. Yeah. So by convention, everything that starts with underscore, I do not put in the Git ignore, except everything which is under source or test. Boom. Now I have the thing in green, so I'm happy. I want to make sure that I have that there. So in my test support here, usually I don't like to put code there, but I'm going to put it now. Otherwise, I can put some modules, but I will inline everything for this one. And then what I'm going to do is all of these things here, I'm going to put it there because I want that there's no benefit whatsoever. So I'm going to take these two guys. Yeah, that's perfect. So I'm going to go to the mod. So what I do is I always have modules where I'm going to put the modules. Usually I don't put code in line like this, but for this one, because we're on test, I'm going to do an exception. And now I'm going to do a pub. I never have a good name for the test support. Test. Because it's not test, yeah. It's every time support new. Oh, mock is good. Mock is not perfect, but mock new std io client and connect. Way too long, but at least it's descriptive. And here I'm going to do a result. And the result of this guy again is going to be my boxed in result. So for my crate, I do not have boxed in. Yeah, I have a rel error that I have below there. So I have a rel result type alias that goes on this error. And here I have an error, more or less clean. Still custom here, I clean them over time, but that is clean. For everything which is tests and examples, for me, boxed in is a king. So what I would do typically is I will do there and I will copy back the boxed in over there. We'll do that later. And then I'm going to copy that there. It doesn't complain. It should complain here because that shouldn't compile. The type is not imported. But the reason why it doesn't complain is because we didn't include it. So in tests, it's a little bit different than our crate. Yeah? In our crate, when you include it once, you have it in the tree in a way. Here, you are going to have to include that. So you include the things like that and you say, actually, should I call it support? Yeah, support is okay. I like, because support is what I use everywhere. So for me, support is utils for this level and down. And so when you have support lower, other people cannot have access it. So that's my best practice in a way. So now I do that. So support, so we didn't need the underscore over there, but that's fine. And then we have this, and then I will do a mode. So I will do that. Use support. Okay. And now it complains. No, mode support, sorry. Mode support. And so now this file includes this one, but this one doesn't. Yeah, so you are going to have to repeat mode support, and that's fine everywhere. So I do the support, and usually support I like to have it, I don't flat it down. I do support : : so like this I know. So that I'm going to copy paste that, and it's fine. I don't need to. Well, actually, you know what? I can do this now. Mode support and use support result. Okay, cool. So pub type result. Why does it complain, this guy? It complains because it doesn't have this, I guess. This should be async. That is a client. I do a command, Agentic, it's our client. That is our transport config. We import it, and then boom, we're back to green. So now it's cool, yeah? So I don't do that all the time, but my recommendation is, even sometime when I do unit test, and that is where I use the underscore. I do underscore because I want it globally. So even when I do unit test, sometime, for example, for my Agentic, I think, for my GenAI crate, I need to keep it like this. I should have, do I have it here? No, not this one. But if I go to my AI pack, I code way too much for my edge. And if I go there, I have my test support. And that is super important, because otherwise, if you don't have that, it becomes very redundant and things. So I have my test support here, and sometime, this is arguable a good idea or not, when the test files are very big, but they are test units, I put them there. So that is unit test that in the files over there, are mapped to that. So they actually belong in the tree of another file. It's arguable in this case, the net value was still okay because I didn't want to put all these kind of things somewhere else. But that is not, I wouldn't qualify that as a best practice. This is a good one, I think, sometime, because you want to be able to reuse stuff across your stuff. And the way that I've done it here for unit test, you can see if you go there, I have this config test. It doesn't get into the binary. It's pretty cool. Again, Rust is awesome. So that works pretty well. Now, on this one, we're only on test anyway. And I don't know why it's so small. I think it's small, no? Let me know. No. Okay. So let me know in the comment if it's too small. So the thing here is we have the mod support, which is cool. Now we have this guy that does a mock new stdio client and connect. Very verbose, but very clear at least. If we are creative later, we can do the things. And the reason why I want to make sure that we know is connect. Yeah, because this is important. It's not only a new client, it's a new client and connect, because we do that there. So now, cool thing is, I'm going to go back to, we're going to do the tools, the tool list. So now on the setup, I'm going to do things, client, and then where I do the mock, okay? Yeah, I didn't do this, yeah? So I need to do that. And now I'm going to do the support. And now I'm going to do the mock studio staff, await question mark, and now I should have the agent. Boom. Then it says something which is probably not used. This let binding. I don't like that. I don't understand. Omit the let. Oh, no. Hey, thank you, Clippy. The whole point was to return the client. Sorry. And that is, this is why Clippy is always is a gem, this stuff. Okay, so now it's return the client. And now we go back to our tools. And then we get the client over there. Command U. So I have the thing on toggle, Command U. So I do the Command U, and then I have this stuff. I have the client. So that's cool. And that is our MCP client. So it's pretty cool. And again, this is strategy that I took because it's all about, we don't get extra point if we follow Bibles in coding. There's no extra point to say, hey, good, you read this book about testing and stuff, and you're like, you check all the boxes of the book, you are awesome. So it's always about a net value business. So we need to know, it's okay to read books and watch stuff, obviously, but everything is relative to what we are doing. So in this unit test, we are going to assume the system needs to have NPM, and that will install, and it will install the default server over there. Which means that if they change the server, yes, the test would break, and then we'll come back and fix it. That's fine. But the net value is that we're relying on what everybody on the planet is relying, and so I think is a good one. If they didn't do the everything server, it would have been trickier. But we had that, so we're going to use that. So this is perfect. And so now we're going to go to the tools. We'll do the life cycle later. And the tools here, we're going to do exactly what we did in the example. So this is actually that guy. Okay. And now that will return. No, because I didn't include everything. So now that will return. That will return what? That will return a MCP response of list to result, which is perfect. And then we're going to check it. And to check it, the way I do it I'm going to show you, is like that. I'm going to do a debug print. So again, I have my Rust 10x extension over there. Rust 10x. It's a little extension where I have all my little snippets. And so you can have it. It's open source as well. You can download the snippets, make your own. And that is my debug print, such as I search for that and I remove them later. And I'm going to do a res, and I'm going to do, well, actually I can do something like that, which is a res result tools, I think. Yeah, so that is a way. So you can click on the type, but basically this is a way to do it. So the res is the MCP response, which is a JSON RPC, and part of the JSON RPC, like we have there, is this guy result. Yeah, so we'll have the ID and everything. Now, the cool thing about the library, which I'm very happy with, is that by default, it creates a unique ID, UUID v7, which has a timestamp, 30, 50 millisecond precision, I think. And then it's highly random. And then I base 58 it, such as we have a shorter string and without any special characters. There's pros and cons to do that. Do it the way you like. The cool thing about this crate, if you want, you can create the RPC by hand and create your own unique ID. But by default, it's created for us, so that is awesome. So in fact, if I wanted to show off, because yes, somehow for me it's showing off these kind of things, I will do that. And now we'll do ID and then tools. Now, for the people that have been following here, again, when I developed my crate, I started with these examples, which was used for test. And then I was running it and cargo watch them. Now what I want is to do a cargo watch test. So cargo watch is a crate that you can install. He has been a little bit put on maintenance mode, but he works very well. The other one is Bacon, but I'm still happy with the cargo watch test. So this is cargo watch -quiet clear -execute and then test not quiet, I think in this case, and then test, and then depending of if I have one or two, then I do that. Okay, so we're going to do that by hand. I think that should work. Boom. Okay, so it runs this guy. Okay, so now the cool thing about this is, okay, now this cargo watch here, we don't see the println. So what I do usually is -- no capture. Press enter, and then boom, we have our println. Okay, which is very noisy in this case, but we have it. So that is the ID, base 58. And then that is a tool, name and everything. Hi, Jeremy, I'm loving the content. I hope you will explain how we can use this crate in Tori. You're awesome. Yes, one day. I need to go back to Tori. I actually talked to the founder yesterday, but yes, I need to... yeah, I need to go back. I talked to Daniel yesterday, but I need to go back to the Tori business. Yeah. So, and interestingly, I had a pretty cool, but it's not clean enough. It will mess up everybody. But I did a half reboot of my awesome app in Tori with SQLite and the old version of GenAI, and it was being able to talk to any AI. It was like a mini desktop app and things, and then I created AI Pack, which is more powerful, but less sexy in a way. But anyway, yes. So, and that, by the way, this point, Otis, hopefully I pronounce your name correctly. One of the things, so I'm doing the test today because I needed to do it anyway. So I'm doing it live. I'm testing that. But one of the things that we're going to do with the Agentic crate, and which is the MCP things, is what you want, and this is exactly what you're saying, is to say, how can we create an app, which is a Tori app, a command line app? In my case, is going to be my AI pack, or cloud app, which is what they call a MCP host. And that is going to get a little bit confusing, because an LLM do not call anything. It does not know how to call anything. The only thing it knows is to say, I can speak English, I can speak French, and I speak JSON as well if you want, or any programming language. And so what's happening is the MCP is an evolution on top of tools. And so it's happening to say, hey, LLM, if you do not know the answer of that and that questions, or if you need this and this information, rather to ask me in English, because then I need to parse, and I need to, I don't know what to do with English. I cannot execute English. Give me a JSON that I can execute. And then the goal is to say, well, don't give me any JSON. Say, if you want the weather, here's the weather. If you want to say echo, here's the echo. And so that is a little bit one part of the MCP, is to allow the LLM to say, hey, what are all the tools you have? And then the LLM is going to say, well, you gave me all this list of tools, and for what you want to do, I need to call this and this and this. So I'm going to send it to you. You call it for me, and then you send me back the answer. It's function calling, yeah. So that is the thing. And so that is what you are saying about, is how can we put it in a Tori app, cloud, or Tori, or whatever. And this is going to be fun. And by the way, you saw today, I wanted to do a video. I'm going to do it, but Codex from OpenAI is moving to Rust. So we're ahead of the curve here. They're all moving to Rust, one by one. That is what I predict. All the big ones, yeah. So the other question is there a way to do a kind of pretty print? Yes. Again, that is very cool, learning Rust. Yes. So they're all serial. Yeah, okay. Well, you won. I'm going to do that. So, okay, let's do that. It's cool. So now, yes, of course. Like, who wouldn't move to Rust? Yeah. It's people, the only people that yeah, don't want to make a joke because it's recorded and I'm going to keep it. Yeah, the only people that do not move to Rust is the one that roll their eyes because they look backwards. But if you look forward, it's hard to not go there. But not for everything. I also understand that some team, and if you have a good backend team in Go, I don't necessarily like the Go language, but Go language and the Go runtime and the Go ecosystem, it's a robust one. So you can make really robust and scalable application with Go. So I'm not. So at the end of the day is how the team works. But yes, they are going to move to Rust specifically for command line and desktop apps. The value of Rust is huge. I mean, my AI pack is extremely powerful. I have a problem to explain the power sometimes, but without Rust, I wouldn't have been able to do it. And now I'm going to add Agentic to AI pack. And so AI pack will be able to be an MCP client, an MCP host, or an MCP server. And you will be able to do an MCP tool in Lua, which is, I want to be the simplest way on the planet to do a custom MCP with AI pack. So it's going to be awesome. And so, yeah, we have the hash. Yeah, you're right. We could yes, we could do that. But in fact, I'm going to check the names. I prefer to check the names. But one of the good things here that we can do is this one. So the tools here, if you look at the tools, command option, click. And this is what I love a lot in Rust. I mean, here is my crate, but it's the same crate. But even when it's other crate, you do option and then you navigate to the code. It's just heaven. And so if you go to tools, here is a vector. Everything is serializable and deserializable in CRD. Yeah, so we always have those guys. So that means that now what we can do is we can do, I'm lazy here, but it's a CRD JSON. And I should have CRD JSON, yeah? And then I think they have a pretty string, yeah? pretty. Yeah, to string pretty. And then we have that. And then because we have the boxed in, we don't have to worry about this. So I wouldn't say please is the wrong word, but my strong recommendation, don't use anyhow and this error. And the developer is Top Gun, yes? It's not at all about a judgment on developers. It's use boxed in. And because then after you can progressively augment to a normal structure and then it's heaven. So I'm doing this and I'm going to say tools. I think that if I press save, it doesn't work. And I think it's because it's just a reference. Boom. Yeah, and now, well, oh yeah, because I have the silly. Oh, okay, sorry guys. And then I'm going to do that, like that. So that we have the whole thing. So we have the tools here, name, echo, description, the input schema, which is a pseudo JSON schema things that everybody's using. And then another one, add, input schema. This one is add. So we're going to test this one as well. So we have all the tools. Okay, so that is what we have. Now, what I want in this one, I just need to check all the list of the tool names. So what I'm going to do is, this is the way I will do it, okay, if I were alone. So I will do a tool names, and then I do a tools, and then I do tools, no. Pretty, okay. So we'll do a tools, I will do that. So here I'm like putting the code and then after I will erase the rest, the thing I don't like. And so I'm going to put this one on top. And now the thing I will do a tools. So that should be a vector tool. And then I do the iter. No, I think, yeah. I do the iter to do the map because I have the tool. And then I have t dot. So this one should be a tool over there. Future. What do I have a future over there? Dot name, no? I press save to see. I'm confused now. I don't have name. So why does this guy is confusing? I cannot move out. Fair enough. Tools, this one. No, I don't understand why. Oh, cannot move out because, sorry. Cannot move out because, yes, it cannot move out. The name is so the name is a string, so I cannot move it out. Yeah, so I can do that, and that will be a thing. And then I can do a collect, and I can do a collect of string of reference of string of vect of reference of string. So that should work, and so that would be a vect of string. And now I can do a join. Maybe a smarter way. Feel free to let me know. And then that it doesn't like it. Why it doesn't like it? I cannot join. Can join, no? This is a vector string. So let the two names. What? I thought I'm being silly here. There were no join? I swear there were join. Huh? Anybody knows here? I'm like, method join cannot be called on vector string due to unspecified thread bound. Okay, so we're going to do toString. Cannot call. That's weird. Okay, that's weird. So that means that the interface join is not implemented on vector of reference of str. Okay, so anyway, we're on a Rust thing here, so now I'm curious about this. And so when I get stuck on this stuff, first of all, I'm going to do something which is silly because there's no reason whatsoever to be afraid of a toString here. It's not an issue because it's not a performance cargo test. I don't get paid. You know, my computer doesn't yell at me when and I have 100 gigabytes of RAM. It's just silly, yeah. But now it kind of upset my ego. So the thing I'm saying is to say, well, I don't understand if I put a reference of guy and then I have a vector of thing, then I cannot join on string. This is mean, yeah. So now perhaps I will say, well, okay, and sometime when I do implementation, you have to implement it for ref of str and ref of string if you want to be ergonomic. So I'm going to assume that, and this might be something I'm missing, yes, but I'm going to assume and say, hey, perhaps here what he does is this, and then if I do something like that, I can do that. And boom, it works. Okay. That's fine, yeah? So that means that by default, what they haven't implemented is a vector of reference of string, but they have the vector of reference of str. So that's the thing. Doesn't matter, obviously, but thanks. So now I'm going to do a tool names. And I'm going to remove that. Yes, Jacques Joubert, you're right. They didn't do that. Yeah. Awesome. So now I have this. I got my vector of strings. And here's the things where people are going to say, that will break. I'm not proud of this, but I'm going to do it anyway. So I'm going to do names. And I'm going to do that guy. I'm going to do debug. So like this, I'm even lazy because I will copy paste the stuff. And then I'm going to take that. And this will be my fixture. Let fx. So I do sometimes, I don't do that all the time, but I do sometimes fx mean fixture kind of things. This is not very mathematic, but I do that. And I'm going to do an assert. Now, the way here, it's very brittle, yes, because I don't think there is any guarantee whatsoever of the order. It shouldn't be part of the spec. I wouldn't see that. So, you know, it could break where actually nothing break. So it would be better to probably do a hash set, or this might be a smart way of doing making sure that all the elements are present in the other guy. But right now, this is good enough. And if that pass, I'm going to be happy. And that pass, and that means that I'm happy. And I'm going to remove that. Boom. And that's fine. I'm very happy here. And that is clean. Now I'm happy. That is good enough for me. And then if something breaks, then I will go there. I don't want to go to the description. I don't need to go to the params and everything. It's perhaps something I need to do at some point. For example, if there were a bug sometime where I don't get the parameters or something, then I will add either a check here or another function or whatever. But this one is good enough. So I'm trying to have again, my strategy of testing is not percentage coverage. This is a terrible number. except if you want a raise. But what matters is a percentage of what may break. Yeah? So it's a net value here to say, okay, that is something that may break. Testing 1 + 1 = 2 doesn't add any value. So now that I'm pretty happy with that guy. And in fact, this is perfect. And now I'm going to add another one. And so every time I code like that, I'm asking myself, well, should I use AI? Because I have my AI pack. Yeah, so I'm going to show you it at some point. But in this point, and my AI pack follow my best practices, so it will follow it, but it doesn't know, oh, actually, you know what? Let me take a little bit up. I think I can do something. So if I go to their spec here, they say that. So if I really wanted, I could test all of the things, but I don't want to go there. And that again, if you give that to the AI, he will go. I mean, in the prompt, I could say, don't do that. But I think it's okay. And here, I don't really know. Yeah, it's going to hang itself. Yeah, I'm not sure about this. So we're going to do it anyway. We love to code. So the next thing that we're going to do is we are going to add. So now we did the list of the MCP. And again, for the one that came, we have the mock new Studio Connect MCP. So we are testing the Agentic Crate that has the MCP. And we're writing the test for it. So in a way, it's pretty cool because it's a crate that is going to come. I'm going to invest quite a bit of time in it, which is going to be, so GenAI is my crate as well. So this one is quite mature. And Agentic, that is the one that does the MCP and the A2A. And right now we have done the MCP. The thing that I'm keeping online, by the way, is all the videos about where they transport. The HTTP transport, which is pretty cool. And so now we are testing everything. So now we have this. Oh, it's going to be pretty cool later. Okay. So we have the tool list. And then we are going to have the tool echo. Okay. So the tool echo now will have another kind of things, effects. That will be our effects message, which is what is going to send us. And then, so I'm going to do that. And so here's what I have. I have this alias. I need to put this alias somewhere, such as you guys can catch them. But I have this CWE T. If I give one thing, and I can give a partial name, it will do a cargo wash test of this guy. If I give two, it will assume that the first one is a file, and the second one is the expression here. So here I'm going to give one, so it's just going to do a cargo wash of that. And so on this one, I have that, and that passes because we do the thing, and we don't want that. So we're going to do one print here just to prove that this is where we are, and we should see a print somewhere. Yeah, so we see that. So I like a lot that because I press save and it runs all the time, and so that's very cool. So we will be able to go back here, Jacques Joubert. So we will be able to use Agentic to make our own MCP client. Yeah, and 7 Rust, yeah. That's the goal. I mean, today actually it's 0.03, so the number is scary, but I think it's pretty complete for MCP client. Yeah? Now, one thing I'm going to do, probably not today, but later, is show how we can, because an MCP client without being able to route, to do the routing or everything, it's a little bit, you know, you need to plug it into the GenAI tools. Yeah, such as because it's the AI that will give you to say, hey, can you call, you gave me these MCP servers, I introspected them, and I need you to call that with that values for me. And so that is what the Agentic Crate will do, yes. So the answer to you is exactly yes, that's my goal. So if I do this, I have the question mark here, which is good. I send the request. So the thing I'm super happy with the code design, one day I might explain that. And by the way, if you like this video, like, share, such as I know I need to do more live. I'm mixed right now. I don't know if I do the live only for the live stream members. We have session with the live stream members where it's more closer, and I do polling of what they want to talk and everything. So feel free to join, obviously. But I'm also trying to find a strategy where I can have more live. Right now it's 48 hours after, but I'm also trying to find a better strategy. I'm not super happy with my strategy right now. I love the live stream members because we have more in-depth conversation about production, and I'm polling them to what they want to talk about. So those sessions is more what I need to work on. Yeah. So send requests. So the thing I'm super happy with my API is this one called tools. So the way that, and one day I'm going to explain it because it's pretty neat the way it works. The way it works, if you look at it, is when I'm calling, I can close this one now. Here I'm calling, so if you look at the TypeScript spec, okay? The TypeScript spec has these things over there, that's request, the method names, and the params, okay? Params, sometimes they have for the MCP request, they have underscore meta, which is their meta business, and then they might have other stuff. And that depends of what it is. So for example, if you do the list tools that we see, list tools, okay, we have a list tool request, and then somewhere you should have a list tools params. Oh, no, they don't have params because they don't need it. They can inline the whole damn thing there. Funny guys. But they have tools, yeah? So they have this where they have the tools and things. So that is my params, yeah? Because in Rust, we don't have that. We don't have inheritance and things. So in Rust, but it maps extremely cleanly. In Rust, if we go to list tools, params, and I don't know how to pronounce params, but yes, you have list tools over there, and then we have the meta, which I rename underscore meta, because in Rust, underscore means something else, so I didn't want to mess it up, and then you have the pagination, for example. Now, the cool thing is, if we go to tool call, so call params, okay, call tool params, and that's the way it's called. You have the meta again. So again, we don't have inheritance, so sometimes you have to repeat that, it's okay. And then we have the name, and then we have the argument. And the argument is name value, okay? So that is a way that maps to the thing. And the cool thing about this is I followed what I call the inline builder pattern. So rather to have a builder, you actually call, you do the new, and then you have the builder methods consuming pattern like that. So you don't have to have a builder. Sometimes it's nice to have a builder. So for client and these kind of things might be nice. But for all other type, having builders everywhere add weight that is not really needed. Only for symmetry, but yeah. So all of these params, they're like that. Now the cool thing is it goes to params to the MCP request. And then the magic, and I didn't know I could do that, but it took me a couple of days here to crack this one out. But then when you send the params here we send, call to params, look at what we get back. And I use that in other crates. So I knew I could do that, but I didn't know that way. Anyway, it fits very well. So I say send request, call to params, and I get a call tool result at the type level. So everything is static dispatch or whatever I want to call it, but everything is type-based. Yeah. So it's very cool because now we get only the call tool result with the thing. So that means that now for test, we have this nice, when you build it, it's very convenient to build it in Rust. Yeah. Now, I'm going to do the devil's advocate, which is there will be an argument to say, well, Jeremy, it's nice, your stuff, but we wouldn't build those things in Rust anyway, because typically the tools, the core tools, yeah, the ones that are going to say, hey, add 1 to 2.5 is going to be the AI which is going to give us that. And then obviously all of those guys implement serialize and deserialize. So if you get a JSON, you just deserialize into that and then you're happy. And that the stuff, I think there's something I need to add to do this loop. So when we are going to add it to do the full cycle with the AI, this is where I'm going to add this this kind of a router, yeah, that I need to do somewhere. So the thing here is that now we can add this, and we're going to go back to our test. We're going to exec, so that is part of our execution section. So we are going to do that. I do that such as I don't inline, because otherwise I put one line. Sometimes I like to have 2 lines. So I do this little hack here. And then I'm going to import that. This is obviously not what I want. And that is the one. So here we don't use the default. Yeah, we say, hey, this one, that one. And then we're going to print something which is going to be the res result. Yeah, I'm going to print that for now. Up. Why does it complain? Sign off. Oh, it doesn't implement debug. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, the 48 hours might be strict. So sorry, I'm reading what you're saying. Honestly, I'm not going to remove them until the end of the weekend. So don't worry. So I'm a product guy. I'm very bad at marketing. So every time I try to stuff. So anyway, the thing I'm saying is, yeah, don't worry. I'm going to keep those open for at least this weekend, and it's pretty cool because there's quite a bit cool stuff that we did with HTTP transport. So anyway, so that is the way I do. And now I see, so don't worry, Jacques, I will leave them for the weekend here. And probably even more. I might put them forever, those guys. There's a weird thing sometimes is when I put live and then people say some paid content next to free, they unsubscribe, but it might not be an issue. So this is why I'm saying, well, sometimes if I do a lot of live, but then after the live goes away, and only paid, then the live tab doesn't show, so then people doesn't see, and they doesn't unsubscribe. It's a silly reasoning that I have because I think it's better to, give as much, and then, people that doesn't like. So anyway, the thing I'm saying is I have the result, so now, and so I do that because it's going to give this. So here again, I'm going to give that. This is brittle because obviously if the engineer in Anthropics or wherever decide to change the string, then it won't work, yeah, because there is a dot at the end. I will argue that, yeah, might be good, might be bad, I don't know. So it will fail, but again, always net value, good enough, assert, equal. We are going to do, so the Rust way is always, I think is what we did, yeah. It's the fx last, fx message or response, whatever. And then this one is going to be what? Where are we? Content, text. Okay, this is going to be a pain. Okay, let me see. Let MSG result result content, yeah. And then that will be what? Vector of message content. Yeah. But you know what? I think I was smart. I might, if I were nice. That is the thing which is important here of call to result. I'm going to go this one. Content resulting tool calls, returning message content as it covers the text, image, audio, and things. Yeah. So I don't have it there. I have it. Okay. So I'm going to show you what. So I have two choices here. One choice, I can say, okay, I'm going to do the map and I'm going to do a toString, or I get this one. There's also another thing that I can show, but it's okay, for testing. Now, what I'm saying in my head is say, well, as a user of the crate, when we're going to use that, yeah, is you can also provide a roadmap timeline of the Agentic crate. Also, don't forget about Agentic and Toridemo. Yeah, the problem is, and this is my problem, so this is why I work with AI Pack and a lot with AI to boost myself. I have too many things I want to do. Yeah, I'm excited to do. So I'm trying to, this is why the Tori app compared to AI Pack is a challenge for me. Yeah, because AI Pack is really a kind of a game changer in so many ways. And the Agentic fits directly to it. The Tori app kind of thing is cool, but it doesn't really fit yet into my my stuff. But I really want to do it. But I need to do cloud apps right now quite a bit. So I need to go back to my Rust cloud web application, which has a very similar architecture as a desktop app. So this is why I wanted to show that. But yeah, there's too many things going on. So it's hard for me to commit to things on top of the client that I have. So the thing I'm saying is I could do two things. One is do a hack and stuff to do this one, because this one is deep there and it's a pain to get. So I could do something like that. Content, and this will be what? Vector of message. Then I will do a get 0. That now will be an option of message. I will do a OKR and should have one message. Okay, question mark. So that is I have the message. And now when I have the message content, I should have a dot something. Okay, so I'm going to do Command E. Well, that it doesn't like it. Okay, that's fine. I go to the message content guy. I have synonym. Synonym even. And then it's pretty raw new text. So I have the constructors, which is super nice, but I don't have the getter. Yeah. So now I am in the enum business, and then I have to do the enum and stuff. And so it's getting a little bit heavy. Yeah. So one thing that I will do, for example, I will use that opportunity to say, well, okay, we have this and this is fine. But then once I have message content, at least I should have some convenient getters. Okay, so convenient getters meaning that, if I just want something, I should have a function for it, rather than doing the enum and everything. So, and text is a very common thing. So this is the builder and the constructors. So that is pretty cool. The thing I love about Rust, there's so many things, but the thing I love about Rust is that we can have multiple implementation blocks. So usually what I do is I break them by domain or whatever. So I have builders, constructors, and then I will have getters, or assessors, or getters. Yeah. And then the getters here, I will do an impl message content. And I will do an impl, and I will do as str, which It's FN, obviously, will be a pub. I'm not sure if that will be a really good idea or not, but I'm going to look at it here. So as str, I do a self, and then I'm going to let Copilot perhaps doing the stuff. Yeah, Copilot, not too bad. Except this, no, I will say as text. Okay, fair enough. So I'm thinking ahead with everybody here, sorry. But as str will mean to say, well, as str, if you can do str, do str. So actually, the Copilot did a good job here. You put the txt as str, and the resource, there's an argument that you can put it as a resource. But the resource contents here, I think resource is not really the content itself. I think it's a reference of the content. It's not the same as txt. So now I'm changing my strategy. I'm saying, well, I don't want as str. It's too vague. It's too ambiguous. Yeah, so I prefer to have as underscore and then the variant name, this guy, and then that will return the option of the reference of whatever I have. Yeah. So I'm going to just do it for text right now, because again, the crate is early. If the crate were more mature, I will add all of them. But I think this is good. So what I'm going to say is something like this. You say if let, I do to complete. Okay, thank you. Copilot is good. So this one is good. Yes, I do if let and thanks, and then I have the as text. So that's pretty cool. Yeah. And again, I'm going to see how that feels, and then I will add it there. So now when I go back there, I will say this one, and I will say as text. And that should return an option of string. And now I can do a dot OKR. Should have text message. Don't sweat too much about the name of this of the string. It doesn't really matter. It helps so much to have these kind of things that the rest doesn't matter. And then we do this message first, and then these two should match. Okay. And then this one, it doesn't like it. That's fair enough. Why? Yep, because that I forgot a question mark over there. And stuff. And then our front Clippy. Yeah, it gets the first. I love Clippy, and I do it because just to respect to it, and we need to be nice to machines these days. But the get zero, the first, I don't like it. There's an asymmetry in first and get one that I'm not a big fan, but that's fine. So I do this, that, and then I'm happy about that. And then it passes. Obviously, because we cheated, yeah? But that is a way that I would do it, okay? There's another way that we could do it, is having these convenient getters kind of things to kind of put it a little bit higher in the stack, okay? So that might be a good one as well. Eventually, this one here right now, it's inside its own type. You can see there, prompt, and it's inside with stuff. I will eventually split that into its own module, because I'm going to add quite a bit of that. And one of it on the ergonomic side is if it's an image, I want to allow a way of saving it as the right, you give a temporary folder or destination and you can save it as an image, and that will be part of the crate, perhaps. Something like that, because this is kind of things that is kind of annoying to do that. And I think there's not too, I wouldn't do image processing. I would just save to whatever the MIME type. So when the AI reply with images or whatever, most of them, they reply with base 64. So you get base 64, they tell you the content type. So you just get the byte, and then you get the stuff. So I might do some things there. So I have this guy, and now I'm happy because I tested the echo, and that works pretty well. So that's good. Now go back to this one. So typically what I will do is I will go there, git log to know where I am. So code clean is already pushed there, so I make sure to typically I try to avoid the git push force. This is always the bad one. And I'm going to git add, get everything, and then git C. It's minor because I'm not adding anything, but it's an important one. And staff, first pass, adding integration test. Okay, so this is what I will do. So like this, I keep what I have. And then on this guy now, so that is a life cycle. So I want to show these guys. And then I will go to mode and I will say, well, it's a life cycle. So I don't want to do too much over there. And I'm okay to copy paste that. And I'm going to perhaps just do that like that. I'm thinking, no, I don't want to do that like that. I'm going to go back there and I'm going to be, I want to be proud. So I'm going to save this one. I'm going to create a new function, async. I don't know if it needs to be async. fn mock new std client. And that is just that. That will be the result of client. And that will return something like that. I'm sorry, client. So that is what I will do right now. And then I will call that there. Can you do that? No. You're kidding me? This one doesn't need to be async. So I will remove the async. Client, question mark. Cannot really fail, but you know, put the stuff. And then the transport config. Huh, interesting. Okay. So my strategy here is not working very nicely. And I don't want to have the connect because the connect is the one that does the thing. So it's fine. And it's test, yeah? So test is pragmatic first, elegant second. So I'm going to be completely fine on this guy. No shame. So that is that. And so this will return a tuple of these two guys. So like this, I can normalize. Otherwise, I always forget to change the string there, and then everything kind of stuff. So this way, I do the client, and I have the transport config over there. Boom. And why did he complain? Oh, yeah, okay, fair enough. Mute. Yeah. Okay, so that works pretty nicely. And so now that means that I have this guy that I can go back to my cycle, that I can, this is part of the fixture. I'm not executing anything right now. So I'm going to have the client, the transport, and then I'm going to do support. Question mark. And now I'm going to go and do the connect, yeah, which is going to be the exec of this connect business. Let dd, because I don't know the name, I think it's initialize init response. And then I'm going to do a 1p debug print init question mark. And that is pretty good. Makes sense. And then that's it. And so I'm going to do a CWT, copy paste. What do I do? Go back there. And then boom, not boom, yeah, boom here. I don't know what to say. What can we check? We can check that probably. And we're going to check this guy here, which is server info. So we're going to do let server info equal init res. I should have put result everywhere because that is what we want. But I didn't do it on the other one. I might change it later. So to normalize everything like that. This, we're going to miss it and it's going to be confusing one day, but whatever. Initial result, and then we're going to do, what is the name? Okay. Protocol meta server info. And then his name, I think. Yeah. So we're going to have that. We are going to print that. That is a cheap one, but it's quite a bit already. And I think it's going to be good for up. And then we do a search equal. Yeah, that's fine. We don't need to have an FX for that. I don't always put FX there. Yeah. So that is tough. So now the cool thing about this is we're going to do that. And then I'm going to do a CWT. And I'm going to test all of the guys that has IO. Boom, boom, boom. Yeah? And everybody is passing nicely. It's a little mess here because I have different files, but everything is doing good. So I test all, everything is good. Git log, git amend. And in fact, I'm going to do git commit amend. And first pass adding the stdio integration test. Those are those guys. So now, second stuff is, okay, this is nice. And eventually we'll add more, but now we have a good pattern. We have the support kind of things that can scale. We have the pattern that can scale. So that is easy. So we'll do that. I can do that offline. But there's the other one here, regardless of all the tools and everything. The one that is we're not sure yet. There's something that I never tested actually, that I would like to test, which is sample LLM. Demonstrate LLM sampling capability using MCP sampling feature. Input the prompt to send to the LLM. I don't understand this tool. The max token. The default is the max token to generate. So the sampling, I think, is when we... So in the spec of MCP, there's the best, the concept here. They had a pretty cool thing, which is sampling. The model context protocol provides a standardized way for servers to request LLM sampling completion from language model via client. Yeah. So it's a server that requests the client to do the stuff. Server doesn't send anything. This flow allows client to maintain control over model access. Yeah, selection and or permission and all of that. Yeah. It's a client that accesses it. So I don't know. Sampling is used to ask more info from the human in the loop. It's not what they're saying here, yeah? You might be right, but here what they're saying is the context model provides a standard way for servers to request LLM sampling, completion, or generation from language model via clients. So the way I'm interpreting that is a server that say, hey, can you send that to the LLM and give me back the response? That is what I'm interpreting that. Yeah. So follow. So like this, the server doesn't have to have API keys. Can request text, audio, and stuff. So the server is asking the client, can you know how to talk to LLM? I don't have access. Can you go and run that for me? That is a way. Yeah. And allow server to have, by enabling LLM calls to occur to nested side. Yeah. So I think here is more kind of a terminology issue, I think, because they put it in the tool. So the funny thing is with AI Pack, I want to allow you to have an AI, which is an agent, which go to LLM, because the AI Pack knows how to go to LLM, but expose that agent as a tool. So I think that is pretty cool. This one here is demonstrate LLM sampling capability using MCP sampling feature. And then they say the input is that. So the input, prompt to send to the LLM, max token, generate. Okay, I'm completely confused. It's the opposite, yeah? And anyway, this is not sampling, it's the tools. So the funny thing is they don't have sampling. Because sampling, I implemented it there, sampling message, sampling content. And so there's no sampling params because there's no sampling params because we don't do sampling. It's just a message. That's what we get. I'm a little bit confused with our tools here, but prompt, basic prompt without argument, return a single message in exchange. So we could do that. Let's do a single prompt test here just to learn. So I'm going to do that. So let's go there. And so the nice thing here, it tells the human from the client side to send the information as additional string so that it can be added to the context. Yeah, I think we're saying the same thing, not step. I'm saying, for what I understood, the sampling is the MCP server say, can you run that from me or not? Now, the fact that the user is saying OK in a button, it's something else. But that is what I'm interested into the sampling. It's true to receive from an LLM API. Yeah, we need to think about this stuff. So anyway, we're going to do the prompt. And so the prompt, and correct me of this here, the thing that I understood from the prompt is, now you are the client and you say, give me a prompt for that thing. So if we go a simple prompt, basic, prompt without arguments. So if we're going to test the prompt here. So it's actually pretty cool because we're learning things. So we're going to create a new one and we're going to do the prompt. Yeah. And actually, we can go tools, and if you want, we can do this tool here. So we have the tool add. We could do, that is not echo, is add. Did I push it? No, cool. So I can do a git amend. And now I can do that. And Otis, we're going to check here the things that you're saying. It's to say we're going to take that guy and we're going to do a tool. And we're going to say, what is this guy? Perhaps it will become more obvious. Sample element tool. Again, this one is a weirdo one to me. Sample LLM. And what we're going to do is we're going to take the list one first. We're going to do that. We're going to do that. Okay, so, and that is a way, when you are there, rather to work on an example, I like that because we're on our test and we're learning other things. So the way here, and the reason why I have questioned to myself about these kind of things is because for the first iteration, I was very focused on mapping the spec. And I think I mapped the spec very well. And so well that now the spec mapping is a little bit ahead. So I think I have a good understanding of stuff, but it will actually help me validating the nuances here on these kind of things. So for example, in this case, what we're going to do is we're going to learn a little bit what is this sampling LLM, which I think they did it, but it's add more confusion to something, at least to me, because I don't think it's a sampling stuff. But I might be wrong. I might be missing something. So you might be... I think you might be right, Otis. I don't know. It just doesn't click on for me for now. But we're going to see. So we click tool, we do the things, and now we have the tools. And now we're going to do a let. We're going to do a for tool in tools. And then we're going to do, the things that we did before. The tool JSON, and that was a CRD JSON. And then there's a pretty business over there. No, not this one. This one, and then I should be able to do that. Question mark, string, then 1p. Yeah. And now I do my tool, JSON. Okay, let's run that. And that is what I mean, when I'm there, I'm very happy. CWT, boom, this guy. And now I have this. And so... Actually, I'm even lazy to go and scroll. So what we're going to do is we're going to go back to this guy. Go back here. And we're going to say if tool.name. Hey, Mehdi. Tool.name equal that. Then we're going to print the spec. That is a very cheap way stuff. And I might add a pretty JSON. I don't know if I need to add that or not. So input schema, property, mass token, okay, and prompt. The prompt to send to the LLM. Okay, fair enough. So we're going to do that. Okay, so we're going to do that below for now. XP, experimental. So now we have the client, we have the request. We're going to do that. Honestly, I like the API a lot. I mean, the ergonomic. This one is going to be the sample LLM. And that one is going to be what they are saying. They are both required. No, only required prompt. Okay, that's fair. The thing I don't understand here, the thing that it doesn't, is there's no way, the server doesn't have any API keys. So I don't even know how will that work. So they're going to say, hey, you have a tool that you cannot use. So there's something I'm missing there. But it might be me. I don't know. I think it might become more obvious there. Prompt. If you know, Otis, feel free to, if you know what I'm missing in the head, feel free to tell me. So I won't take it bad. So prompt, I'm going to say, why is sky red? Question mark. Press save. I don't execute it, so nothing to see. I'm going to execute it now. So I have this peg here. And then I'm going to execute it. I'm going to take the result over there. So I have the list. No, sorry. Params, that guy. Now I have a cool tool result. Okay, that's good. And then we're going to do a pretty print also. So now, I don't know if my stuff will work. And I'm going to do and then we're going to do that. That is what I will do if I were alone. And then, so what does this guy is doing? Oh, what's happening? Am I missing something here? Ah, you see? It's not doing anything. I have a bug here. And the bug I have, okay, Otis, after the prompt has been received, after getting the sample call made by the LLM from the user human. Yeah. After the prompt has been received, okay, so after that guy, after getting the sample, yeah, I'm not sure I fully get it. Yeah, so I'm going to comment this one out. There's something I'm missing here. So first, thanks Otis to try, but I'm still doesn't click for me. The thing here, that is what I understood. That I understood this spec, yeah, which is sampling the model context protocol provides a standardized way for servers to request. So the MCP server request the client to say, hey, can you send that to the LLM and give me back the response? That I'm not sure how to do the whole flow, but that I understand it. Now the things that I'm a little bit client features. Oh no, it's on this one. So that is what I understand. Okay, so that's good. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to test right now so that is a tools sample LLM. So what is happening here is that we're sending the call. I think that is getting sent. but we're not getting the result back, I think, for this call ID. I think that is what is happening. And so if we were going to, if we were going to go to the thing, I think something is not going back. And that is where, Otis, you might be right. You might go to a different channel with sampling. I think I get it. Okay. That is what I think I get it. The sampling here is the server decide when to ask the client to say, hey, can you send that to the LLM because I need the answer of that. Then if you ask the user or not, it's your business. Now, the problem of that is how does it decide? Yeah. So what they have done here, because this is what I think it is, and this demonstrates here. This is like, what they have done is say, well, because you need to initialize this business of sampling, we are giving you a tool, which is a mock in a way, and you give the prompt, and we'll give you back the same prompt as a sampling, such as you can test that the sampling API work. That it is. Because again, those guys are smart, so it's a me problem, it's not a they problem. So I think this is what it is. It's basically, you wouldn't do that, yeah, because it would be silly. You say, hey, give me a prompt, I give you the same prompt. Yeah. But this tool is to say, well, if you want to test that you do the sampling right, you can do that like that. Okay, so that I think it is. Now the question is, do I get a sampling stuff? And so we're going to do that here. It's actually now I want to do that. So I don't know if people want to do something else, but this one is very cool. Okay, so I'm going to go deep on this stuff. So we're not going to do the prompt right now. We're going to do the sampling, and actually that, even if it looks like this, is not that. This is actually tests C, stdio sampling. This is what we're testing. We're not testing the tools here. It just happened that the way to trigger sampling, the MCP to give us the sampling, is to call a tool, which is smart, yeah, because that is the tool we have. So the thing I'm saying is to say that now, can I take? Yeah, awesome. So I'll go that. This is going to cry a little bit. That's fine. I'm going to be lazy. I'm going to go there to test that. And we're going to fix this bug. Okay. That's cool. So I'm going to do what I want to do is take this one, the tools one, and I want to add it. And I want to do a git commit amend, because I want to add this one to the amend, but not the sampling. And now I'm going to do a git add git C and test stdio sampling. Test and debug stdio sampling. This is what we're going to do now. Okay. Oh no. Well, too bad. This is the wrong stuff, but that's fine. So now, sorry, there's a silly bug over there. And then the cool thing now is this is working exactly like what we wanted. So I'm going to do that. Tools, that's not tools, that's sampling. And this studio sampling simple. So sometimes I put simple when That's fine. I'm going to do that. I'm going to do a git log muscle memory, git amend. Okay. So I do a git log all the time because amend can be very tricky to do. I'm not very proud to do amend, but I like to collapse things. But I want to git log because if you collapse it to the wrong one, then it's a pain. Then you're on this thing. So the cool thing here is we're doing this guy. We don't need the list tools anymore. Okay. The question is that part of the fixture of the exec? That is a question. I would say it's more part of the fixture in a way, because we don't care about this one, sorry. But this guy here. And so that is going to be we're going to make a special one for this one. So send trigger. Okay. So again, this MCP stuff is very powerful. We all need to understand it. Yeah, there's no way to implement a tool, an application, or anything nowadays without being have some sort of MCP somewhere. I'm not saying everything should be MCP. I'm saying it has to have MCP somewhere. Either using it, either being one tool or something. It's part of the new system. Yeah. And for me, I don't want to get too philosophical, but since 2023 and 2024, 2025 with the tools and everything and MCP, we have witnessed the birth, I'm going to be fancy here, of the third type of users. For the last 3 decades, there were 2 types of users. Human, we discover with a user interface, and then we click. Sometime back in the days, we were reading documentation, but now nobody reads docs. They click, and things should be usable. Then we have an API. The developer goes and look at the API, and then it's code the stuff, and then it's fixed like that. And now, because we have AIs that kind of resonate, resort to give a UI some sort of, how to decipher documentation, there is MCP that is all JSON-based with JSON schema, and they have been fine-tuned to understand that. So that is this new type of users that every services or every application will have to accept as well. So we are going to have end users as well as AI, and that's completely fine, yes. That we have an AI fatigue or not doesn't really matter. It's not like the AI say, people are fatigue of me, I'm going to pause. So the point is, we have to embrace this stuff. Now, where it gets tricky here is to say you have clients, you have MCP servers, you have the client, which is often into a host. And the host is going to know how to talk to LLMs and is going to give the LLM all of the MCP it has. So that is what we use when you use Cloud Desktop or whatever. You configure all your LLMs, and then Cloud Desktop will give all of the tools and everything, and then the AI will decide which one to call in the response. And then Cloud often will decide, and that is a big stuff, security and so on, and to say what I do without the acknowledgement of the user for what the LLM asked me to do. Or do I have to go back to the user and say, hey, the user with the tools that I gave it to it told me that he wanted to do that. Are you okay or not? Okay. So that is where sampling, and I think is what you are saying, Otis, is the sampling could have this interaction if the tool wants to have it. Saying, hey, when you ask the guy as a tool, I'm making sure that I have the user in the loop, and I just don't execute what you ask me. What that is to get, we trigger the sampling. So we're making sure that we're triggering the sampling. And I'm sure here, and so it's pretty cool now because we're going to get deep. So for anybody that stayed, I don't know how long, it's 2:30, yeah, so it's 2 hours already. We still have an hour, I guess. But now it's going to be pretty cool because we are going to look at the underlying kind of a thing that, RAG agent and stuff, it's a whole different thing, yeah. But it's cool. So it's the more MCP and stuff. But have to be careful because a lot of people sometimes are, I'm not saying, but some people are confused with AI. I mean, for a long time, even with technical people, they thought that LLM was calling functions. They were scared of, and he was a Java developer, like 20, 30 years of Java, yeah? And he thought that the DeepSeek model of Hugging Face could call by itself, go to the internet or send stuff to the internet. It's not possible. Yeah, LLM is you pass a flat array of numbers, give you a flat array of numbers back. Now, the system around it, if whoever with tool callings and stuff can say, hey, if the LLM send me that, I will do the call. But that is not the model itself. Yeah. But anyway, it's cool to do a hackathon of MCP and stuff, and MCP is pretty cool. So now, here's the thing that is happening. These things here, this tool, which is very cool, we're calling a tool, and we're going to do the why is sky red. That's me. People don't ask that. They ask the boring one, usually the blue. So I know that when it's coming back, this is me. What is going to happen here is that the tools on the back end of the MCP, because it's MCP server, is going to create a sampling via the sampling protocol, the message. The reason why we don't see it, it's getting excited, but it's super cool. The reason why we don't see it, we're going to see the implementation behind it. It's a pretty cool one. Well, I'm biased, obviously, but the reason why, okay, I didn't save it, so that's why we didn't see it. And okay. CWT stuff. This one should work. Okay. Huh. That's funny. I will assume that that will have at least return. Otis, I think you are right. I'm finally getting what you're saying. Okay, so I'm going to, Otis, I'm going to say what I think we're getting back then on the same page. So what I say was right, but what you say was right as well. It was one step ahead. So the sampling is, it's awesome, Otis. So the sampling is the MCP server that say, hey, you need to send that to LLM, and then give me back the answer. The trick is, and the way it does that is sometimes you call a tool, and the tool to finish its work and that is back to your point, Otis, you're right, need to send back to the client and say, send that to the LLM, with or without the human in the loop. But I cannot give you the answer to this sample LLM if you are not giving me the answer of these things. Yeah? So what's happening here is behind the scene in my transport, I'm waiting for the JSON RPC and I map the ID and I have a concurrent hash map. And then, so everything is parallelized in a way. And so when I get the response, I'm going to map it to a map with this ID. And that is where we have this request response business on an event base. The problem is the response of this JSON RPC request never comes. Because in fact, what comes, and I'm going to check my assumption, what's come before that, and that is what you were saying, Otis, what comes before that is another request from the MCP server, a sampling request, and say, hey, can you sample that? Meaning, go back there and come back to me. We don't have to go back there. We can say, I'm AI. So we are going to fake to be AI, but the problem here is we do not get that request. Yeah. So it's going to be a little ride here to test it, but we're going to see that. So now, if we go to the transport, we're not going to go to the transport. We're going to go, you're going to see here, it's going to be pretty cool. We are going to go. So one thing I like to do with my CWT, because I don't like all these files. So I do a CWT, and then I'm going to pass this file, this name, then that. And that is just my CWT function, kind of do the stuff. And so now I just have that function. So now what we're going to do is look at behind the scene. Okay, so what's happening here, we have the things which is before request. Okay, this one, we can remove that. We have the before request, before, and we're going to make some padding, and we're going to have the after, and we're going to have some padding. Okay, so that is the thing. The thing that we have here is if we run it, we have the before and we don't have the after. And the reason is because what Otis said is that he went there, but the sample LLM is not only what I was saying at the beginning, oh, just trigger a sampling. He say, no, it's actually respects the thing to say, to complete this tool need to send a sampling. So it's sending a request, but I don't print it because I'm waiting the response of this one. So my stuff is working, it's just that I'm not displaying the thing. So to check that my stuff is working, we're going to, oh, I have too many tests here. So I'm going to go git amend, git log, git amend. Okay, so now to check that that is working, we're going to go, so we have our cargo watch, and we're going to go to our client. So that is where everything's at. So that is all types in a way, the type magic, and then the thing. That's the transport, where the transport happens. So that is what we did in the previous videos. And now what we have done here, we have the client transport, and this is so this is a generic one. All of this is transport independent. So it's pretty cool because I've implemented it with this business here, which is message passing. So we have the in, we have the out, and that creates the pairs that goes well, such as I can give it to the transport and then one to the client. So that is the way it works. It took me a little bit to craft that, but now it's working pretty nice. And that means that I go back to, so that is a client transport, which is just an enum. Yeah. And then I go back to the client implementation over there, and I should have some sort of run, constructor connect, communication, public SSR, private SSR, runners. Okay, so this is where I like to have the code folding and navigating my code. I like that. So that is just my way. So sometimes I put my code region, sometimes I have things like that. This one, for example, I did that. In fact, I would change it now to that, to runners. Okay, I don't need to have, because at the beginning, the reason why I have a code region is I wanted them as functions, and then I say, well, I'm going to have them as members. So kind of root functions. So that is the way it happened. So that is the out. Out comes from the MCP server. In comes from our request. No, the in is not here. The in is in the transport. But the out is, the in is not in the transport. It's when you call your function, that is what does the in. Okay? And then what comes back from the server is the out. So if we are going there, and you are going to see that, and it's going to be awesome. So let OK message from string, and then this message. Okay, so here I parse the message, and I make sure that the message is an MCP message. And then I get the ID of the MP message. Then once I have the ID, I remove it from the queue over there. So I have, and the queue is just a concurrent hash map. It's dash map, which is awesome. So I remove it from the queue, and in the queue, I put a one shot. So that is where the whole magic is. So I'm actually fully async, so which is pretty cool. So now, because I have that, I can, when I do that, this is where I send the message to the one shot. And the message is a message. And that, I think, is a generic message. That is the MCP message, which everything is value. And then you get to the right type. Okay, so wait a sec. Oh, no, everything good. So now that we have this, we're going to, if we go there, so now what we're going to do is we have the MCP, and we're going to display the MCP message. So we do an unprivate, and then we're going to do the message over there like that. Yeah. And so that should be the message that we're getting from this server. And we're going to put it in debug mode like that. It's going to be ugly, but it's fine. So now we get that, and it's working very nicely, because we get our MCP response, okay, of our, that is the thing before, so that is the MCP response of the connect, okay? So that is what is happening, and so that should be something about initialize somewhere, should be initialized somewhere. Okay, so that is the server info. So this is the response of initialize. I don't know why I don't see it there, but, and then we have the before over here. So let's pin this guy, and we're going to pin, where is our sampling? This guy. And then, so the before, we're going to pad it as well. Okay. Press save, and then we have it like that. So this is the connect here, which is the initialize. So that is what is coming back after the initialize. And that is what is coming back after our call here, which is a send request of this tool of sample LLM. But then it doesn't like it because you say, hey, create message. So that is a method sampling. And he asked me to create a message. And then he's giving the server, the number, the message. And then in the message, there should be my sky red. Yeah? Why is the sky red? But I'm never answering to that. So I'm sending me notification here. And what is the notification it's sending me? No, it's just sending me notification. Whatever it is. Notification STDR. Oh, that's interesting. And so I'm sending back, and then it's timeout. Okay, so that is, it's pretty cool. It's worked pretty well. Yeah. So all my model here kind of work well because it sends this kind of message back. So the cool thing now, I'm trying to think here. is we get that, and I'm going to have to think about it. I need to think about how do we listen to this guy. This is going to be interesting. So you see, all of this is asynchronous. We send a request, our test is still waiting, but I still print here because all the agentic stuff is still pulling things. And in fact, I'm faking. I'm making the thing as a request response because I'm going to map back the IDs. But it's not. But the things that we need now is a little bit tricky. We need to have. It's not a response of the tool. It's funny. The ID is number 0 of the sampling. Object, include context, this server, mass token 100, array content, string resource XML, this one, type text, user, prompt, system prompt, okay, you are a useful server, that's cool, temperature number, that's cool. So I'm sending that back. But create message, and I say, so this one I'm going to have to do some reading here. So in the sampling, show me the sampling, how it works. We need to be able, I notice if you know here, so we need to be able to send a sampling. So we get the message back. So this one is interesting. I'm going to have to, I don't know if I want to do that online or not. So the trick here is I have the client thing. This one is a message which is very generic. It's this one. So that is a request. MCP request of value. So right now I'm keep it open there. And the reason why it's a request is because there's params. Okay, so in JSON RPC, if there's params like that, okay, this is what we have. Yes, we have params. When you have params, that is that is a request in a way. So it's sending me a request with a number 0. So we're going to assume that the server is going to keep these numbers unique, so it's probably have a sequential number somewhere. And now we are going to have to answer back this guy. Okay, so we're going to get this and stuff. So the question is, I need to do some work here because what we want, and I don't have that in and it doesn't tell me. So it doesn't. I think you have to simulate how you can initiate another tool call or even another call, to an LLM. Well, I don't need to initiate LLM. I can say I am the LLM. But I have to give back the answer, to your point, to this one. So I think at least in my test here, STR or something, so it's not going to work here, but in my test, this is pretty cool. And that probably will go more to an example at this point, not a test, because I'm going to have to think here because going to have multiple tasks. But this one is a good one here where What time is it? 4:49. Well, how many people? 17. You guys are amazing. This is more kind of an example business. It's not a test. So I'm going to keep that. I'm going to put that. I'm going to take this whole thing. And I'm going to create it as a test. As an example, client C04 sampling. Okay. The reason why this is more a test, an example of things, because I don't want right now to have the burden of doing the testing and knowing, what I need to test and stuff. Right now, I just want to do the hello world of sampling. Exactly as you say, Otis, is we need to simulate that we are sending back the things we're sampling. And sampling is pretty cool. It's a cool thing. So right now, I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do something like that. And I'm going to disable it. Okay. I'm going to remove this because these guys, I like to have them, I remove them before commit typically. And then this one should cry everywhere because I do not have, I don't know why that cry, but this one cries, yeah? Because I do not have support on this guy. Could I have supports right now? I don't. So I'm going to have a type for that because I might have multiple function. So pub type, not pub, type. Okay. Okay, so that is, I have the type for that. I have this, then it compiles complaints here. What does it complain? I think. What is it complain? Okay, reload. Am I being silly or what here? What am I missing? Main function is not in a crate. That you are correct. Am I silly? Tokyo main. Ah. Tokyo main, okay, good. And why does this guy complain here? Oh, okay, yeah. No, I don't like. I could have done this, but I like like this. And then the mock here, I don't have that in my test, which is okay. So I go back there. So for my example, I don't really like to have those kind of things. So yes, it's repeating. It's not bulletproof. I'm not hardcore everywhere, but this is what I'm doing. And so I'm going to copy paste that. And then I'm going to do a client connector. Okay. So that is this one. Agentic Crate client. This is this guy. Okay, so we're not going to do the test today, but we're going to do that because if we can do that, it's going to be awesome. And now I'm not going to do the test anymore. Why this one? Oh, yeah. So I'm going to create a branch actually here. So I'm going to do XP sampling. So what I'm doing here is, I'm going to goof around with stuff, and then after I want to collapse, but I don't want to take the risk of messing up main. So I'm going to create a branch. I'm going to do a git add dot git c, and I have this best practices. The first characters is a type of commit in a way. So tilde mean work in progress, and XP on sampling. Okay. And then eventually I will collapse and rename and everything. So this is a little bit the thing I'm doing. And git c is git commit -a -m. So I have all these aliases because I don't like to type. So now I have this, and now if I do a CWE and a client C04 sampling, now it should complain. I mean, it should complain. It should do the before, and we don't have the after. So far, so good. We're back to square one. And we can close everybody else. Okay, so we're going to do the client. We are having the client, and we are going to fake it right now. Big fake. We're going to make it super ugly, and we're going to do what you are saying, Otis, here. What we're going to do is we're going to fake a thing. So I think we do the param, so that is a trigger the sampling. And eventually that might be in its own spawn. Yes, one guy. And then that will be a trigger send mock sample answer. Okay, something like that. So now that we have this, we're going to, and it's not going to work here because I'm doing an await here, but I just want to make sure that I have the type, because the type is actually pretty serious. I think it's pretty complete. So I think I have a sampling response or something like that. So I'm going to say let sample as response, or as as something. I don't know if it's response or request. That can get confusing. And then sampling message. So we're going to go to sampling message, sampling content, the role. But that is what he sent me back, yeah? Text type. Yeah, type text. Yeah, so he asked me to do that. It's something I'm not... I need to fake. I don't need to run this. Yeah, there's no benefit for me to run that. The thing that I need is to send him back, such as he's happy. Does that make sense of this? I just need to have a way of sending it back. So it's making this request to me, I think. Yeah? And I need to send it back to him. That is what I need. Yeah. So if I go to the space here, samplex user interact sampling hello server. Sampling user guide, quick start example of client. I don't think they're going to have sampling here. Concept sampling. The server send, yes, okay, cool. Okay, we have it there. So I'm going to copy that. And so that is what I do sometime also, is I like to do that. And doc. And so it can save quite a bit of time. Server send sampling create message, request to the client. So far, so good. Client review. Okay, after getting the response, you need just to create a new refactor response. Okay, the thing that's showing me off, Otis, honestly, the things I think you're right. Yeah, the thing that's throwing me off is why they don't answer. I don't understand why they're answering me with a request kind of guy rather than answering me with a JSON RPC response where the result could be a request, such as I can map it to my tool scores. This is the thing I'm missing here because I don't know. Yeah, I mean, we're deep in the weed because usually people use, libraries and they don't think, but I need to solve this problem. This is the flow that I'm missing in my head. It's the thing that throw me off. I say, well, if you wanted something as part of this tool, it looks, client reviews a request and can modify. Yeah, client reviews a request and can modify it. Obviously, yeah, good luck. But what do you say? Client sample from an LLM. Okay, that's sample, fancy word to say we run it. Client reviews the completion. I don't know why they are saying this stuff. Client return the result to the server. This is a human in the loop design. Okay, well, the client is the one that pay, or yeah, ensure user maintain control. Okay, this is what you are saying. Yeah, I'm not sure that they all do that because sometimes you don't want to click, but so I think it's orthogonal. Yeah, I'm not saying, but the point is the server send this request and we need to send the response. Sampling request use standardized message format. Okay, so that's fine. That's fine. That's fine. So you send me the stuff. Okay. The sample response will be used. Yes, but Otis, you agree that like for demo, we don't need to call a LLM. We can say, hey, the LLM answer is because of Skyline, whatever, yes? Because we want to fake it. So we don't need to go to LLM. It's not like the tool is going to say, well, you really run this one with an LLM, yeah? So the thing I'm trying to find out here is once he asks me to run that, which we see, yeah, you're right. Oh, do I have a... So when it does that, yes, so we're sending the request, and then it's sending me this guy. Yeah, so we have the ID, the methods, and he basically asking me, the client, is calling a method on me, which is create message. Yeah, that is the way I'm interpreting it. And then is the params here, and then it gives me all the stuff of the server, message and all of that. Yeah. So now that it gives me that, I'm expecting that the tool this is why it's not coming back for my ID here. I'm expecting that I need to send something back to the MCP server saying, for that sampling request, here is the answer of the LLM. This is what I'm expecting to see somewhere, and then I'm missing. Okay? Context inclusion. So here they are cute, they're saying human in the loop and stuff, but it's not even of their business. I mean, the spec cannot say, but the point is I'm saying is, so fine-tune the LLM, yeah, that's fine. Yeah, all of that is supported by GenAI and so on. But the question is, the client returned the completion result. Here it is. Complaining, but I'm not reading. Stop reason and turn. The clients return a completion result. Okay, so that is what he gave me. missing something. I'm missing something. Here is a request. System font. That is what he sent me. But how do I give the answer back? Okay. Let's go to see the spec, but I think I have most of the spec, but create message request. So that is the thing that he gives me, okay? So that is what he gave me. Give me that, give me that. We're still in our guy here. Okay. Create message result. The client responds to a sampling. Okay, cool. Sometimes you just go to the specs and don't read the HTML. So the client responds to a sampling request from the server. The client should inform the user, whatever, before returning. This is why these things throw me off. It's like, I get sued if I don't do that. So this, I don't know how that, I mean, it could be, I guess they use should, but this is the thing that throws me off sometimes. To allow them to inspect the response, manage the loop. It's not the thing that create. Okay. I think I'm so sorry. The name of the message that generated. Oh, he wants to know the name of the message that generated stuff, yeah? And I think the reason why it stopped, if known. Okay. So this one I might have missed. Sampling message. Okay, that's fair enough. So I'm going to do a sampling message. Now, go back there. Go back to the spec. So that is a spec that I downloaded from their site here, which is awesome. I mean, it's a very good spec. Sampling message. But how does he know? How does he know results? And there's something I don't understand. How does he know the ID? How the server is supposed to map this guy? The client's response. Oh, okay. My mistake. Okay, so I don't know if we can do that right now, but okay, I get it. And Otis is what you're saying. I think it's stuff. So I don't know if I'm slow or not. But here are the things that I think that happen. Let me see. That's it. I got it. Okay, so we got the MCP request. We got the ID 0. One thing that threw me off as well. So there's a lot of things that throw me off in this whole thing. I don't know why they give an ID of 0. This is not unique, and it's unique for them, I guess. But that is, I guess, that's fine. So now what I need to do on my side is the tools, the MCP server send me a JSON RPC request. And so it sends me that. So the only thing I need to do is sending back an RPC response with the ID that whatever is sent me. This is what you're saying, yeah. And then we'll map it will do the things. And so we have a sampling message and a create result. And I think that this guy might be missing of my type. Do I have the sampling here? So the request. So that is what I'm getting from it. And I need to create so this is everything that is sending me. And then what I need to send back is a create message result that extend result. So that is a result with the meta and the key. And the keys are this guy, which is model plus sampling message, which is role and text content, and then that text. Okay. So I need to add that, and I'm not going to do it now. But the thing here that we need to add this is, so we don't send that back. So there's two things. Yeah, that is a request that comes from the MCP server, request from the server, yeah, which actually stuff. So that comes back from the server, and now I need to have, how do they call it? But I don't think I have it. I have the create message params. Yeah, this one. I don't think I have this type in Rust. Oh my God. I have everything. That's it. Okay. Okay, not sure about that. No, this is the one that is sending me. It's not this one. Okay, so I'm going to have to look at that here because I think thank you, Otis. I think this is a thing we can do. And this one is going to be a little bit tricky because, as you say, there's some sort of asynchronous kind of things. Yeah. So there's a request is making me another. So the nice things about the way that I implemented the Agentic Crate, the MCP, is everything is asynchronous in a way. And then I make them synchronous. But that is just an added system, yeah, which doesn't slow down the parallel request. So the cool thing is we do get these guys, and then it's just a matter of creating the response of that guy, and then having it, and then after this should be resolved. So what we'll do here, and I'm not going to do it today because I don't want to bug everybody too much here on creating this type, because I don't think I have this type, because if you look at the type here, the sampling message, this one, which is a create message result, is much simpler. Sampling message doesn't have all of the stuff. You just have the content, yeah, because we don't need, temperature and everything. But I don't think that I have that in my stuff. Yes, tools and stuff is good. Yeah, sampling, I'm going to add it. Right now, the crate that I have, it's pretty cool. Yeah, this one, look at that. I have sampling message. I might not be that far. Create message result. No. Obviously, I have it. I am on MCP. I have the sampling message there. Sampling message. Sampling content. Yeah, I put it a bit. Text content. model prevent. So that is, we don't care about all of this. So the answer is yes. Right now you can build tools, you can list tools, everything is fine. I think the thing I don't know is, this type is okay. So I think I'm going to see something. Wait a sec. Sampling message. So wait a sec. I'm not ending right now. I'm actually. So in TypeScript here, we have the sampling message, and we have the sampling message as well. Sampling message in Rust. Okay. And now my question is, where do we use that guy? Sampling message there, then request sampling code message there. So this is a create message param. So that is the big one that we get from it. And that is a create message param. So there's one type that I think I miss here. And just because it's the opposite way, is obviously that is what we're getting from the thing, and then we need the response from the client to the server. Yeah, because sampling is the other way. It's the only one which is the other way, I think, beside notifications. So I need to create this type. There's a type missing here, and I need to find a good name because nice thing. So create message param is not for this guy. Yeah. So that is where it's getting a little bit confusing. Yeah. This guy, it's create message request. Yeah. And so create message. No, it's create message result. I have it there. Oh my God, I'm so annoying. I have it there. So that's it. Okay, it's much better than what I thought. I'm sorry here. I'm like, so I'm going to do that. Yeah, so the role here, what is the roles? User assistant. And I can create a role, create message result, the sampling content, text, and I can do a new text. Okay. And then I can do the model and I will do whatever. Okay, let's do that. Okay. So Otis, to answer your question, I'm sorry here. I have a hard time to stop when I'm stuck anyway. I won't be able to sleep if I don't at least know how to solve this guy. The answer is yes. I mean, the crate is pretty good, and I'm happy. You can find my Discord. It's on the AI Pack or whatever, the .ai. You can ping me there, or I'm going to do quite a bit of new videos, so you can always ping me. You can find a way. But yes, most of the time, you see, there's more times that I thought, because I really kind of did the whole thing, and I did the design to have this whole mapping, and then I ask AI to make sure that I have everything. So I have much more than what I think I have, and it's pretty high fidelity every time I look at it. So this one I got confused, the thing, and the only thing I want to say the stuff of the user in the human in the loop. I don't know why they're saying that, because that is not what the protocol is saying. Yeah, the way that the client validate a request, an LLM or whatever, has nothing to do with the sampling. The sampling is more like the server do not want to be in the business of talking to AI, and therefore, but needs to decide to talk to AI, and therefore is doing that. Yeah. And then the client might be a good practice to have a human in the loop. Yeah. I am in Discord already. Okay, cool. Like it's yeah, thank you. Yeah, I mean, the problem is I'm trying to, but between AI Pack, Agentic, and GenAI, things is starting to be super cool. So I'm going to do that because you are here, so and you help a lot. So this is cool here. And I kind of knew that sampling was the other side, but I've been thrown off, and it was a me problem. It's my brain went off, so I will debug it later. So now we have that. So what I'm going to do right now, this is not going to work because it's always going to block because we're waiting and we're not sending. We are going to have a Tokyo spawn here. Yeah, so we'll do this one, such as we can spawn this guy, and then we're going to do, and then we'll send the message there, and then this guy should come back. So we'll do that later. Right now, I just want to make sure that I get the right type to be able to answer. So we're going to say, we are the AI today. Yeah, we are back pre-2023. And so we're going to say, now we're there. And because I have this type, that create message result. Yeah. And the thing that where I got confused in my head is because we always do request and then this time we do result. But I kind of knew that sampling was is other way, but somehow I still. So import result. Yeah, that's pretty cool. So this is the result that we want. And we're going to do a new. We have the role and we have this guy and that guy. And in fact, you know what? I am going to be, and I can do that because I have power. I'm going to do a pub fn new assistant. Okay, because I don't need to have the raw content. And I'm going to do, so I'm going to use that opportunity. Sometimes I do in a different commit, but here I'm going to do it there. So content into, so import into sampling content, okay? And then model into string. This is the thing that I'm going to have. And that will return a self. And right now for the sampling content, I might have it there. But here's the thing I love a lot. Oh no. Sometimes I use derive from, but here the derive from I don't think because it's a nested one. So I'm just going to do my froms here. I do a section like that. And I'm going to do implement from string. Okay. And that is where it's annoying because you have to do, usually you have to do all of them, the string, str and stuff, I think, for sampling content. And then I will do something like that. And that should be pretty good. And then eventually I will do other one. But this one is always a big one. So now that I have that, I go back to the request. This should be nice. And now I have new. Okay. And then I do content equal. Okay. So I like a lot of these kind of things because this way, role, assistant. And the reason why I say role assistant is because most of the time, I don't know why we'll do a create message result of a user. But might be actually. Yeah, I'm not saying it's a bad idea. But then the model, what will be the model? Yeah, so then we do the content model. And that will be a self here. Okay. And that will be okay. So that should work pretty nicely. So I will do something like that. And so I do a new assistant, new assistant, and then the content is, well, I'm lazy, so I'm going to go there. Give me one thing. GPT. Going back there. Why is the sky red? One sentence. Boom. Take that. I'm going to do this, and then the model, mock model, XP. Okay. Boom. This is because I didn't implement, so this is where I go back there. Might be a smarter way here of doing that. You don't want to do display, because if you do display, it goes through the whole kind of thing. It takes too much, and then you might have conflicts, basically. So that is my... so string, and then those two guys is str. And then, can you do in two here like that? No. Okay, so that we have this. So this one kind of compares anymore. We go back to our client stuff. I'm going to pin this guy. So I like to pin things. There's a command shift enter. So I have the request, I have the things. This make me a result. Okay. Which is not an MCP response. So now I need to create. So I'm going to do message result. Yeah. So again, we're in the RPC stuff. So send us that with a 0, remember? And now we are going to go there. And so we need to do an MCP response, which is, again, JSON RPC, ID, and result. So that is what we need to do. And that, to be honest, I'm not, hopefully. So let MCP res, MCP res, and then I'm going to do MCP response. Do I have a new here? Don't know. Command click, ID, that's fine. Pub, that's good. Okay, RPC ID, that's good. So here things, I'm going to do that. Okay, don't judge, okay? Here we cannot judge. Do not judge. 0 into. And then result. That should be the result, which I might have to do. Oh, that works. How come that works? Oh, that's pretty cool. It recognizes the type, and I have all the type. So this is why, Otis, the crate is pretty... The way I've done it with AI and stuff, it's pretty well done. Because I spent a lot of time designing the whole magic, and then I had AI doing the completion. So it's pretty cool. So the reason why I say don't think is because every time because we're using stdio MCP server, every time we press save, it creates a new server. The thing that I've observed here is, so this time it saved my life, actually. So actually, that's perhaps because the reason why they did it to ease testing. I don't know. But in this case, we can fake it without knowing it. Yeah, because here, there's no way. We're going to have and the system and the runtime is going to support, but I'm going to have a good API to say, hey, give me request. Yes, and it's going to be awesome because it's going to be with some channel probably or some, and you say, hey, give me a new one if there's one that comes. So it's going to be cool. But right now we don't have that, so I'm going to have to do this. So the funny thing with MCP, and I think MCP is fascinating, and it's actually a very cool stuff to do with Rust. I think Rust is probably one of the best languages to do that, because for doing safe concurrency, I don't think there's a better language. And there's a lot of concurrency because, in fact, as we see here on Otis, our client is also a server. Yeah, because we receive the things, they need to be async. Here I'm doing this request, but there's a channel. So fortunately, I did it the right way, such as I'm not blocking the channel, the communication channel here, and things are still coming there. Yeah. And so now it's not a structural problem. It's just like, fine-tuning the APIs to make sure it's convenient. So right now we're going to completely hack the system. We're going to do that. And now that we have this, we're going to have to send that. So we have the MCP response. So that will be the ID and the result. So all good. We want to serialize. So, and now we want to send that into the server. And that might be where, my God, I didn't plan to do that today. I don't know how this long session is going to work on YouTube, but this is what I would have done. So client. So now, here's the things. We're going to look at this. We construct and we connect. We have the communication where we send the request row and we send the request type. Yeah, so this one is a row here. And then this one is type, which then will send the type response. So that is the cool stuff. Now, what we don't have as part of the API is, because this is request. Yeah, so if we go to the where, sorry, I have, it's MCP request. We do not have response. Okay, so it's interesting. I'm going to have to think it. This MCP stuff is opening some interesting stuff to solve, but some good ones. So we could just say, hey, what about async fn send response? Yeah, that could be. And we're going to do row right now because I don't know. Yeah. Well, we'll see. But the trick here is to say, if we do that, well, we can do that. But the problem of that is that then in the case, this stuff is interesting. So in the STDIO, so the difference between the STDIO protocol and the HTTP protocol is STDIO protocol, yeah, with the file stuff and things. The protocol here, if you see that, I mean, I've done that, but this is any language would be the same, yeah? The operating system is giving us this kind of three channel in a way, yeah? STD in, STD out, and STD ER. And by definition, these channels are separate. Yeah? That is what you do when you create a process, and you always have that even on Windows. And so that is what we're using. And so in our case, it's cool because the guy is sending us this in the STD out. And so what we need for the sampling is we just need to send something back in the STD in. You know, that would be easy enough. Now, the trick of that with the HTTP protocol And moreover, the way that they've done it, because before it was only SSE, which I think was simpler in a way for that, but they simplify it, I think, kind of such as people can do post rather than holding a channel and then, because then you have to know how to do queue. We know how to do that in Rust because we do that all the time, but other languages might be a little bit trickier. So now you do a post, but I will assume that the servers are going to send the create message request as part of the request of the post, of the HTTP post. And so I don't know if they are going to be okay to receive a response as part of an HTTP post. Anyway, so I don't want to confuse too many people, but it's going to be interesting. So we're going to do send row, and we're going to put the MCP response right now, just to be clear. And we're going to have a MCP response. And the thing here that we have the MCP response clear, and that I think is a generic. By default is value, but is R, and then is not clear that if R implement serialize, which I should probably add that, where R serialize. Does it complain everywhere? Oh. Yeah, complain everywhere then. Yeah, because right now the response was on this way and was not on that way. So I'm going to go one level down again. Don't judge. Yeah, okay, don't judge at this point. I'm just validating. So right now here, I'm going to explain what I'm doing. Right now, I need to find a good model of the API. I've designed my client because I wanted to do client first and then server first. I knew that sampling was on the other side, but I didn't fully digest it. Now that I am I need to send back the response, but I didn't have that built in. Yeah, so that is a little bit missing in this kind of case. And so I'm saying, well, I need to design what I want to do in my client implementation. Yeah? What do I want to take and everything? The thing I'm quickly realizing is to say, well, if you want to send, so by default R is value, but R might not implement value. And there's nothing here that says that R should implement value. But it should, yes, because it should be serializable, because a response it's a MCP response is always a serializable thing. If I add serialize here, and it's funny because I have it there. So, but if I had it, okay, fine. If I add it there, I'm worried that if I add it there, oh, no, I have this there. Okay, I think it works. Okay. So I could add it there, but the thing I decided is to add this function. And that says basically if your P of the MCP response, which is actually your R, is implementing the serialize, then you can have this function. So actually, I'm going to be happy with that. But if I want it, okay, we're getting there. It's going to be good. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to my client. Remember, I have this guy here. I'm going to have my result here. And I'm going to say result here. I'm going to scope a little bit down the result, where I'm going to say, you are going to return, what are you going to return? Crate. I don't know why I have crate over there. Crate. MCP result. And right now I'm going to do void, which is because I don't know. And then I'm going to do that. And I'm going to say where are serializable. I can do that. Yeah? So what I'm saying is, even if the type's here I'm going to narrow it and say, you can go give me a MCP response of R, but R better implement serialize. Now, what that will allow me to do is that now that will allow me to make sure that I can serialize it as a JSON string. Yeah, so far so good. So now on this one, and again, that won't work, we're going to put it in spawn. Now on this one, I'm going to have MCP response ID 0, 1, and 2. This is big hack. Don't share it here, but these guys are giving me that. So, and then we'll do another video for the rest. I just want to try to solve that. We have the message result. Like you say, Otis, this is the things. We validated it as a human. We had meeting and everything. We're all happy with the answer. So we're going to send that back. And then the goal here is to be able to have our client, I don't know why. We're going to do our client send, response, and we're going to give our MCP res. Okay. Await and complain. That's compiled. Okay, we're happy. Now we go back there. And then, and by the way, when I code this finishing thing, I take my time and I like to tell my story in my head. I'm not talking all the time, but I will do almost the same. Here I do raw because I don't want to be too fancy right now about types. And anyway, there's no types to return there, I think, so we're fine. So I'm going to put raw, I might change it later. So now the question is, what do I do? Where do I go from that? So in my client, what I have is I have my client inner, and in my client I have two arcs, which is the name, the version, and the queue. So that is a super cool thing. So I'm going to explain here. I guess if people are here, you want to know more. So I'm going to explain you. Everybody is going to be pro at this Agentic Crate here. So the cool thing about the way that I implemented the Agentic Crate, which I think is cool and fit very well, is I'm not expecting the response of a request or the request of a response to be on the same channel in a way. Yeah. So, and in stdio is what's happening. Yes, I'm sending my request to std in, and I'm getting response on std out. In HTTP, usually we're like sending something in one channel and then we get it back as a response back. So, but the design is not. So what's happening is there's some message, and I use Flume that I like. It's a message queue, and then it kind of sends the event, and then I have something that read it and then goes to this result response or queue. I call it queue, could be map or whatever. And that is a dash map. And this is awesome. So it's basically put a one-shot result, which is a little bit a type that I wrap on top of Flume, because I like Flume, but you can use Tokyo one-shot, same thing. And then I have the RPC ID. And so that is beautiful, yes, because then after when there's a response of a request, I look in the ID, and then I get the one-shot, and then I do the stuff. And that is why when we do a connect or whatever, or when we do a send request, I mean, here is hold because of the other stuff, but when we do a send request, we have this feeling of being request response, but it's actually fully async on the background. It's pretty cool. And the guy of dash map is Top Gun. So now we have this, and then we have the queue, which is good, the name, the version, and stuff. And then we have another guy, which is what I call the option. So that is when it's connected. And that is the arc, because I want to make sure that I can clone the client. And then it is com inner. Okay? And com is communication. And that has two things. It has a client transport kind of things, and then it has an in. And so the client's transport is unused, but I keep it here because if it drops, the channel will be dropped. So the client hold it, because that is what we hold all the time. And with the arc, it will make sure that it doesn't do the stuff. So here's a STDIO or the HTTP, and those STDIO, it will hold the handle and everything, so to make sure that they are not dropped, because if they are dropped, then communication is stopped. That's kind of annoying. So that is a way, and that is in TXT. So that is another of my type. It's just a silly wrapper here on top of the Flume sender. Okay, so I like to wrap the things because then after I can have my little send. And here, for example, in Flume, it's awesome because they support sync and async, but they name it the opposite way that I like, and it doesn't matter. Yeah, you can use whatever. So I swap it, but also the reason why I like it is because then I can have my impl into something. So if one day I want to have my own type here, I can have my own enum, and I just implement the right from, and then my code is super clean, and I don't even have to change the other key. So I like a lot that, even if it makes the binary a little bit bigger, but it's not that much bigger because, this is nothing compared to the value it brings. And if it's too big, you put it in a function and then everything's fine. So that is the thing. So the cool things now, what we have seen with this little dance, is that we have our in. And if you see the in is just a string now. So it's not in the business of understanding JSON. It said, you give me a string, I send a string. It's not of my business. So now we're going to have this, and we have the com inner here. And I think if we do the client constructors communication send request, and public assessor, private assessors, so we can go tx in, okay. I have a try here in case something doesn't work, so that's fine, we'll do that. I don't know why it's try. Oh, okay. Because if it's not connected, there's no communication. And then client not connected, no transport. So that is what I did the stuff. Okay. So now the cool thing about this is we're going to do self. We're going to have our try business in txt question mark. So that is what I like it, because now I don't have to worry about the thing. And this result here. Yeah, okay. I don't need to have crate. I don't know why. Oh yeah, I know why. I don't need that anymore. Because here, that package has error. And so before I had it flat and then I refactor it. So I don't need this MCP guy anymore. They're all mapping to the same, to the crate. Like that. This is consistent. I like to fix these things because otherwise I ask questions in my head I don't like. So I do the thing, and that will be the in tx. Let in tx. Okay. And then yeah, I think that is the way, yeah. So in tx, and then I do a in tx, send, and the item will be, so I'm going to let payload equal, and we're going to do our CRD JSON. So I don't like CRD JSON. Eventually, we should have, the MCP response should have a thing such as we can have a clean error, but that's fine with the right context and so on. But that's fine for now. ToString, I guess, and we're going to do the MCP response question mark because everything works. Press save. Doesn't like it. It's fine. I'm going to do a map. So I have a map error like this. It's kind of a little shortcut for now, but it's good enough. So custom, it takes any error and then it do a custom, basically. That allows me to have my error types fully typed, loose, and then I tidy it up as I go along. So this way, rather to have, I wouldn't recommend to use anyhow all these kind of things, but this way it's part of my type. Yeah. So I like this kind of things. It's a progressive typing in a way. And so now I get my string, I'm happy. And now I'm going to send my string over there. Okay. And then this one will be await, and it will resend an error. And so that is another thing here about the error business is I could say, and I'm not going to say that now, because I don't want to do the change as part of this commit, but I could say, when you send this one will log the errors that if it cannot send. It's super important to log it because otherwise this asynchronous stuff sometimes get very silent and you don't know what's going on. So in fact, I will log it here and I will still probably return the error, but at least I will log it such as nobody has to do it upstream. Right now, we need to do it and let error. So this is, I have that in many places. So the nice thing again of wrapping other guys is that we can normalize that our way. So what I want is to make sure that the color of that doesn't have to think about it, and error. And then NTX. It's a very ugly error, but it doesn't matter. Okay, at least I have that. And I'm going to say return error. It's not super beautiful, but that's fine for now. So I still return it. And that is a dot await. Okay. Now, that's fair. What does it complain? Oh, yeah, into. Okay, yeah. And then the into works. Okay, so now what we have is we have this. So we have this send response row, and I say row, but it could be, yeah, actually we take the type. So we're going to keep symmetric on the other guy. So just send row, okay? Send response. So that will send the response. We still have only the before, we don't have the after, yeah? Because again, what we have done here is, so I don't know if people are coming new here, but we're pretty advanced here. All of these guys with Agentic and MCP work. So we can call a request, get the response, everything good. Sampling is an advanced thing of MCP that sometimes when you call a tool, the tool needs to ask something to the AI. And so the MCP server do not want to go and ask to the AI. So it goes back to you and they say, hey, can you ask the AI this and tell me the response? And so now the MCP server is making a MCP request to us. We do whatever we want with it. We can discuss our stuff, send it to AI, and do whatever we want. So they call it human in the loop, but I'm not really sure why. You can, you may not, but you are the one going to the LLM, and then the client, or the host, send it back to the MCP server. So sampling is the other way around. Yeah? So rather than us as a client always to call, Now the server can call us and then we respond it. Now, it doesn't work here because, and Otis, if I say anything wrong, feel free to correct me. Now, the nice things about, so now it wouldn't work here because I'm sending the request here, sample LLM. So sample LLM is a tool that they have done in the reference implementation of everything, of MCP, that say, well, if you send me something and you send me the prompt, that will be the prompt that I will echo back to you in a way, such as you can test this sampling business. So it's very nice that they did that. So the trick here is that we have the sample LLM. We send the sample LLM, but then the guy, and it works very nicely so far because we're sending the sample LLM and then the MCP server is sending us back a request, is ID 0 sampling create message. It's asking us to create a message. And so we need to have a create message result, which is this guy. So this is what we created. And I already had the type actually. So now we do that. We have a constructor. We do the new. We give the answer, and then that's it. Yeah. So we're going to put it like that. I do sometime like this or like this. I can. Oh, that's funny. Interesting. Yeah. Okay. So that is pretty good. So, but now because we are hanging there, we never go to after. Yeah. So what we're going to do on this guy, we could do threads if I were brave enough, but I don't want to look dumb. So I'm going to do a Tokyo. And in thread, they have these cool things, which is, you know, the join or the context or whatever that they did a while back, which would have been perfect for that. But we're going to do a Tokyo spawn. And I'm going to have hopefully autocomplete here, calling that. And I'm going to do these guys. I don't know what it put there. I don't care. And so what I'm doing there is I'm triggering that. Yeah, makes sense. So I'm going to trigger that for a little while. I'm going to comment this one out for now. So that will span this guy out. Why does he complain? Complain because I cannot have async over there, which is fair. So right now, we're not going to care about errors, okay? Oh, we're going to do something like that. We're going to do a let else. We're going to use this pattern, okay? Else, and then println by debug print error when sending. Okay, we don't have the error, that's fine. So why it doesn't like it? Oh yeah, that's not. Am I missing something here? Oh, okay. Yeah, okay, that's fine. Why does he complain? Irrefutable. Let else pattern always match. Yeah. What am I doing? Okay. That is the thing. Right now, we're not. Well, we can do that. Oh, we're going to do that. But now we have a clean res below. That's good. Now, this one is going to complain because I'm using client a little bit everywhere. So here's the thing, okay. This is pretty cool again. I mean, this is Rust stuff. When you create a client, you need to have it mute. The reason why you have to have it mute is because when you connect, this is where I set up everything. Once it's connected, we don't need to have it mute. So one pattern I like to do is I shadow it and I do client back. So now we are back to not mute. Okay. So because when I send a request, I don't need to be mute. Yeah, I hope not. Otherwise, everything is broken. Okay. So I don't need to be mute. Now, the reason why he complains is because, well, you are using the client there and you have it there, you're crazy. So this is why the client here is clone. And so everything inside is clone friendly. So I'm going to do a let client for rec, whatever. Yeah. And I'm going to do a clone there. I'm going to do a clone like that. And I'm going to make sure that this guy is that. Now it should compile very nicely. And that, again, is one of the things that I do think why people are going to use Rust more and more for all of these command lines and everything, because you can do straight, concurrency, safe concurrency, and with other things. Even Java, sometimes you can use a string builder or string buffer in the wrong place, and everything is a mess. So that is kind of magical in many ways. So now that we have this, it's probably not going to work because we have the before when sending LLM. Okay, that is. Okay, it's interesting. Oh, very cool. Yep. Everything makes sense. That's why it's important to, yeah. In fact, you know what? I am the client. This is why it's important to have that. That saves quite a bit of time. I'm doing that more and more these days. So you put that on top. Now it's not text fixture. Yes, I'm going to do setup. Text fixtures is for test. Yeah. So now we have this, and then we should have. Yeah. Okay. Well, I should complain over there. So command send request close generally. Yeah. So what's happening here is that we are spawning this guy and then going there, and then the client got dropped. And so then it the client got dropped when that is running. So I think we're going to do a sleep. This is very hacky, yeah? One sec. Okay. Press save. Okay. Starting to get stuff. Okay, it's pretty cool. It's kind of pretty cool. RPC ID, no matching. Okay, so we're making progress now, yeah? So we have the before, we don't have the after yet because something is tough. So Agentic no matching request RPC ID, payload, excerpt, so that I remember I did that. So I think that is mine. So I'm going to do Command F. This is a cool thing here where we'll run on our out. I don't know. So that is the out. So now, just to make sure, I'm going to make sure that that is that one. Okay, so if I don't press things, oh, that's funny. Okay, so before we didn't see that because I didn't have the tracing there. So we had that before. That is not because we did, this is not because we did that. So here I'm removing it to make sure that it's not because, okay. It's not because we did that. That is the thing. And the reason is because the out. So the nice thing here is an error, but it doesn't break anything. Yes, if we go to see this error, we just continue. So if we go and look at this guy, no matching request, no matching stuff, and then that's it. And we just continue. Yeah, so there's no impact of that. So that's okay. This error is not okay, but it's okay. Now, the thing I don't understand is why does this guy is on the out? Oh, yeah, I know why he's on the out. And the reason why is because it's a request and we're used to get responses. And so what I need to do is I can fix this bug. Usually I don't like to fix this bug, but there's a thing here to say, hey, if there's something in the match request, you see what I mean? So usually the reason why is because what I'm getting as an MCP message, they're always MCP. If they have an ID, which is this case, is because I was assuming that they were MCP response. So I was looking at my dash map over there, remove RPCQ, and I say, well, if it's none, then there's no matching request response for this request. But the thing I'm getting is not a request, it's not a response, it's a request. I don't know if people follow, but it's a request from the MCP server. So I have a bug here. So fix me. Need to fix when it's MCP request from MCP server. I mean, I think it's the only one sampling. So that is why we have that. Now, this is not because we're not breaking because of this. Yeah. So that is not a problem. So in fact, I'm going to go back there And again, just because we're in a dirty development mode here, I'm going to comment this one out to remove this noise. Now, what I want here is I have this guy and I'm not sending. So we have the before, we have the requests that come from the server. We know the ID. And now over there, we are going to, and now over here, we're going to do that. We're going to send the response. That's it. It's pretty cool. Just that. So obviously a lot of hack here, but it's actually super cool. So I don't know if a lot of people followed here, but it's pretty advanced. So the trick with the MCP again is that the MCP is a way to give tools to AI in a way, such as AI can play with it. Sometimes the one part of MCP, so they have these tools, release files, look at the SQLite and everything. So all of that is logic, mechanic tools, like add one, add numbers, echo, whatever you want. But sometimes the tools, as part of the spec, they say, hey, since we have AI here and it's all hypey and everything, to do my job, I want to ask a question to AI. But the MCP tool is not really in the business of talking to AI, because if it were, then it has to have the key, and then it's a whole rabbit hole. In AI Pack, the tools will be able to, but it's because I am already in an agentic runtime. But often the tools, they don't. So what they do is they say, hey, I'm asking you, client, that ask me to solve this problem, to go and ask AI this question. You can review the answer, you can do whatever you want, I don't care, but then you give me back the answer. Okay? So this is what is happening here, and it's a big hack. Yeah, so I might commit it such as you guys can play with it, and the crate is very early, so I'm not too dogmatic about pushing it, but so I might push my little tier. But this is super cool now because, and thanks Otis and everything, it took me time, but you're right. So the thing here, and it works nicely, because actually the runtime was already all asynchronous, so it's very cool. And so what we're doing here, I'm going to go back. We're creating a client, is stdio transport. And it's going to be very interesting because when we're going to do that with the HTTP transport, it's going to be interesting to see if we go haywire or not. We are connecting. So when we connect, we send a first initialize request response. So if you connect, things are already working pretty well. When you connect, you need mutable. Once it's connected, you don't need mutable anymore. So we're putting that there. We're cloning it, such as we're spawning this, such as that can run on itself. And it's making the request here, which is sample LLM, which allows us to do the testing. And then we append the argument here. And when we send this request, which is this test stuff, is going to tell us that this request, the goal of this tool is to say, hey, I need to do a sampling. I need to give you something to run with AI, and then you come back to me. So that's why we put in a Tokyo span into another thread or task. It's not really a thread. In this case, it might be a thread or whatever. It doesn't really matter. So this guy kind of await over there. And we're sleeping because and the important sleep was this one more than the other guy. Yeah, this one I don't think is an important one. Oh yeah, it's an important one to make sure that happen before we send the response. Yeah, that's why. So we're sleeping. It's a hack, yeah? And now we're saying we're going to assume that we want to use AI. So we're going to send the sample result. Okay? And the type was already there, so that was awesome. We do a new assistant, but the assistant or the model kind of replied. He replied that The model is mock model XP, doesn't matter. I don't know why it needs it. And then we are building the response because now our MCP client is becoming a server for this business. And that's why JSON RPC is super powerful, because in a way, it doesn't really matter who is the message. You know if it's, and this is the bug I need to fix, yeah, you know if it's a response of a request, because if it's params, it's always a request. And if it's result or error, it's a response. Yeah, so that is a way. And again, very simple spec, but very nicely done. So now I'm building the response and I'm sending the response over there. And that is the reason why then the guy can be unstuck. And then he will give the answer, and we have the after. And the after here, we can print it in here. So this one is a request of sampling here, so we should have a nice, it's going to be super cool. A res, so that is going to be res. That is going to be a MCP tool result things, which is, it's a tool param result, sorry. And then we're going to print it in a nice way, like we always do. Yeah, we're going to pretty, and then we are going to take the res.result dot something. That content, I guess. Okay, I'm being. Oh, I broke my stuff. Epic fail. Oh, okay. Okay, because it didn't return the same thing, so I need to do it like that. Okay, and then I can do a pretty like that guy. This must not be content, might be something else. Oh no, content. Okay, and that's it. And unwrap. So I will do that. Unwrap. I never use unwrap alone. So I'm going to do an unwrap all, and I'm going to do fair content. Okay, something like that. It's kind of ugly, but I don't have my unwrap because I don't like unwrap. So that is the thing, and then we're going to print that. And that is going to be that. Boom. LLM sampling result, awesome. The sky appears in red and stuff. So that is what we give back. Yeah. So that's it. Yeah. I don't know if you are still here, Otis, but hopefully you will see that. But this is super cool because now we have sampling that works. So now the things that I'm thinking about, and we're not going, I'm stopping right now, don't be worried. But the thing I'm thinking about is to say, well, in the MCP API, I need to make that a little bit simpler. Yeah, so sending requests is dead simple. But in many ways, what we want, we will do the other way around. Yeah, so hopefully, what we will do here is rather to have the send request like that, we'll have the best practice, and I will try to do a cue here, but the best practice is to start a Tokyo span, and that works today, yes. And you will listen the request channel. So I need to build that such as you can listen the request of the server channels. And this is one thing here that when I'm going to fix the bugs over there, what I need is to say, well, if it's a request from the server, which now the client becomes server, I need to have a simple way where I can do, I can iterate next, and then I can get the request as they come from the client. So it will be a client, I don't know the API, but it will be like a channel kind of things. And you can do, and so like this, you can do the sampling, and then you get the request, you get the sampling, and then you can send it back. Yeah. So that is the thing I'm going to do. And the Agentic here today is using the RPC router, which is one of my crate. And so my goal is not only to do that as a hack and you read the JSON, is actually plugging it into the RPC router, such as you can just say, map this request, sampling create message to that async function, and then it will do the rest. Yeah. So that is a little bit the goal of the thing. Okay, if you have any questions, feel free to ask here. I think I'm going to be pretty done right now. So one thing I'm going to do is, I think I'm going to commit that and push it. The crate is stuff. I'm going to remove my debug print because I like to be able to search for my debug print in the code to remove them. So the example is fine to have prints. It's the goal of the examples. Git log, I have the things. And I'm going to search for my debug print. So that is what I do to make sure that I don't have debug print like this one, for example. I don't want that. And then we go back there, and I'm going to do git log, and I have this and that, and I'm going to do a git amend. Let's see, git commit amend, and I'm going to change the comment here. I'm not good. So I'm going to do sampling example, first pass, making the sampling flow work. Okay. So that is pretty good. So I'm going to do that. Oh, I'm confused. I'm not a VI guy. I just do just enough VI to do Git stuff. And then git s main, git merge, XP with the accent as much as I can, git log, and get those guys, and git push oranges. Boom, done. So hopefully that was a long but cool session. Actually, I enjoy it quite a bit because we solved quite a rare stuff. So we started by doing the testing, and then we did the sampling stuff as an example. Testing the sampling is going to be a little bit of a sport, but that's fine. And then I need to think about how I can make the things a little bit simpler. So hopefully that was useful for some. For the one that watch this, I don't know how many people are going to watch this that long, but for the people that watch it of time, I'm going to keep it for a few days and so on. The other one, I say 48 hours, but I'm going to keep them for the weekends. The one about the HTTP transport, because it's pretty cool. And but today here we actually have learned quite a bit on this little sampling stuff. Now it's kind of clear. Okay, hope everybody is going well, and until next one, happy coding.